Leng Qingzhu's blade was deflected, and a head rolled. Now Jiang Fan awakens in the 10th layer, a place of ancient saints and terrifying power. Subscribe to walk this path. Leng shouted coldly, "Woman who doesn't know life from death. I wanted to let you live a little longer." Whoosh, the black blade, shimmering with a biting chill, swiftly slashed down. Soon a beautiful head rolled to the ground. Boom, but at that very moment, an arrow was shot through the air onto the black blade. The powerful force caused the black blade to veer, slicing past Leng Qingzhu's earlobe. A streak of blood immediately surged forth, trickling down in crimson blood pearls. Li Xianxia looked up, his gaze suddenly froze. He saw a figure transformed from a thunderbolt, plummeting rapidly from the sky. A longbow was clasped in his hand. As he was about to land, a purple sword flew out with him standing on the flying sword racing towards them. "Jiang Fan!" Li Xianxia's eyes showed a trace of dread, then his eyes shifted. He smiled, saying, "I was joking with junior sister Leng. Don't misunderstand." Murderous intent arose within him. The matter of slaughtering Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion members, how could it be let known to Jiang Fan? Alas, first he must stabilize Jiang Fan, then deliver him a sudden blow. Whoosh whoosh, who knew? Jiang Fan didn't pay him any mind. He raised his hand and shot 2 arrows towards the dantian of the 2 remaining Wuji members beside him. "What are you doing?" Li Xianxia's face changed dramatically. He hurriedly struck, a black blade slashing out, successfully severing the 2 arrowheads, just as he thought he had saved his companions. Jiang Fan made a tearing sound, transformed into a lightning shadow, flashed behind a member. The purple sword pierced through his abdomen, shattering his golden core within. "Ah, Luo Dan!" Li Xianxia roared angrily. "You destroyed her golden core." Luo Dan was both a core member at the 9th layer of core formation and his lover. But Jiang Fan, right before his eyes, destroyed her cultivation. He charged furiously at Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan retaliated by releasing a blood-red lotus flower, then wielding his sword, he advanced towards another core member. "Junior brother Jiang, it's none of my business, none of my business." "Ah!" Jiang Fan showed no mercy, directly shattering his golden core as well. "When Li Xianxia made you queue up, you seemed quite pleased about it." "Zhang Shiyuan?" Li Xianxia barely managed to exert all his might to block the blood-colored lotus flower. He witnessed this scene, enraged to the point of shouting uncontrollably. The only 2 9th layer members of his team had all been crippled by Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan coldly raised his sword, pointing at him. "Your comrades only lost their cultivation. My 2 senior brothers, however, lost their lives. Now it's your turn. Since we're a team, you should all be neatly crippled together." "What?" Li Xianxia's eyes widened in anger, realizing that the other team members were all crippled. The Wuji he had painstakingly built, utterly ruined. "Jiang Fan, I'll fight you to the end." Li Xianxia lost his former dominance. Face full of rage, he gripped the black blade tightly, slashing fiercely at Jiang Fan. His stance seemed intent on battling Jiang Fan to the death. But in the next instant, his figure retreated violently. He intended to escape. In a solo battle, he lacked confidence in defeating Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan wasn't surprised. As a former first-team leader, Li Xianxia wasn't one to act rashly. However, trying to flee in front of him seemed somewhat far-fetched. He was just about to pursue. In the distance, a jade-carved phoenix chair flew in the air. On it sat a girl in an elegant black long dress with long, straight black hair and equally long, straight legs. She was crossing her legs, resting a hand on her snow-white cheek. The other hand holding a jade ruler, gently tapping her slender, rounded thigh. "Yanksia," seeing her, Li Xianxia rejoiced, saying, "You arrived just in time. Jiang Fan has gone mad, slaughtering the innocent. He killed the disciples of Yunyang Master and crippled my Wuji disciples. You must speak for me." Yanksia gave him a faint glance, casually swung the jade ruler in her hand. A palm-sized array diagram suddenly appeared, instantly striking Li Xianxia's abdomen. With a crack, the sound of a shattered golden core suddenly rose. His cultivation was thus crippled. "Ah, Yanksia, you crippled my cultivation?" "Why?" Li Xianxia could hardly believe it. For no reason, Yanksia suddenly attacked him, and cruelly, without mercy, crippled his cultivation. Yanksia looked down at him coldly. "I don't like being lied to." She was a person skilled in strategic manipulation. With just a quick glance, she could figure out the 7 or 8 possibilities of the situation. Where could Li Xianxia have used her? Jiang Fan narrowed his eyes. This woman. Previously, when she was affected by the fragrant corpse pills and could not exhibit her strength, Jiang Fan did not think much of her as an impressive dark horse. Now he was somewhat frightened. With a casual strike, she could cripple the cultivation of someone who had reached the 9th layer perfection of core formation like herself, if she had displayed this strength back then. With Jiang Fan's cultivation at the 6th level of core formation at the time, he would not have been a match at all. No wonder when she had them under her suppression and confinement, Ren Guhong and Wu Manyu, those two old foxes, admitted defeat so readily. Having dealt with Li Xianxia, the Jade Phoenix chair slowly flew to Jiang Fan. Yanksia looked down at Jiang Fan, still exuding the aura of an imperious queen. How should we settle our score? Jiang Fan showed a wary expression. This woman's array was unusually strange. What score? You tried to use me but got manipulated by me instead. Consider it even. Yanksia tapped her jade ruler lightly on her thigh and said indifferently, Calculations are calculations, I accept my loss. But what about taking my Jade Phoenix chair? Return it to me. Jiang Fan stepped back a few paces and said, I got the chair with my skills, why should I return it? You caused my dragon blood lotus seed to be exposed, I haven't even settled that score with you. The frequency of the tapping of Yanxia's jade ruler on her thigh slowed down. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Do you intend to fight me? You might not be my match. She had seen Jiang Fan's fight with Luo Yingshuang, but she still had the confidence to say such words. It was clear she truly had this assurance. However, after his training in the Thunder Pool, Jiang Fan had experienced a qualitative leap in all aspects, and he was no longer the same as when he fought Luo Yingshuang. To get back the Jade Phoenix chair, you'll need to trade something for it. He tightened his grip on the purple sword. A sharp gleam of sword light flickered from the sword, exuding a unique glow. Yanxia's eyes fell upon this sword. Suddenly, her battle intent subsided. She said calmly, All right then, since you like the Jade Phoenix chair, you can have it. It's an artifact for transcending tribulations. If you have a beloved woman, you can gift it to her, increasing her chances of transcending tribulations by 30%. 30%. Is that true? Even the Bodhi pill doesn't have such magical effects, does it? Jiang Fan was quite surprised. When he wanted to inquire further, Yanxia was already sitting on the Jade Phoenix chair, turning away and leaving. As she turned away, a smile with a profound meaning appeared at the corner of her mouth. Jiang Fan couldn't help but want to take out the Jade Phoenix chair from the heavenly thunderstone to study it. In the distance, there was the dull thud of Leng collapsing to the ground. The last of her strength had been used to bite Li Xianxia. Seeing Li Xianxia get his deserved retribution, she relaxed completely and could no longer hold on, passing out. Jiang Fan quickly went over. Without hesitation, he fed her a revitalizing pill. Her complexion visibly improved at a rapid pace. It wouldn't be long before she woke up. Jian Linyuan also rushed over at this time. Seeing Leng Qingzhu still alive and unharmed, he breathed a sigh of relief. Junior brother Jiang, if it weren't for you, the 7 of us might have perished here. Jiang Fan shook his head and said, In the end, we still lost 2 people. Yunyang Master will surely be very upset. Jian Linyuan was about to say something when his expression changed slightly. He awkwardly said, Junior brother Jiang, do you have any more of the revitalizing pill that you gave junior sister Leng? I'd like to buy one. When Jiang Fan gave Leng Qingzhu the revitalizing pill, Jian Linyuan hadn't arrived yet, had he? How did he know? Wait a minute, the guard hidden by his side. Jiang Fan's gaze flickered slightly. He feigned difficulty, saying, I have one but only one left. I need it for myself. Jian Linyuan heard the voice again by his ear. He showed a hint of surprise and then said, Junior brother Jiang, do you know my origins? Jiang Fan recalled. I've vaguely heard that you come from a mysterious family in Taikang State. Jian Linyuan nodded. It's the Taikang Jian family, an ancient family practicing the slaughter skill. Many divine sect teachings in Taikang State may not be as old as our Jian family, a family that survived the ancient giant catastrophe and continued. 1,000 years ago, it was definitely a super clan. Unexpectedly, Jian Linyuan came from such a prestigious background. Jiang Fan asked, puzzled, Then senior brother Jian, why did you come to Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion? Coming from such a family, you don't seem to lack resources. Jian Linyuan did not hide, saying, I came here on the orders of my family, searching for something for our Jian family. What could be so important as to make this ancient noble family come to Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion to search? That thing, you haven't seen it, but you must have heard of it. Because the White Horse Temple is also looking for it. Jiang Fan's heart skipped a beat. The Black Buddha Scripture. Jian Linyuan chuckled lightly. Yes, it's the Black Buddha Scripture. The slaughter skill, when cultivated to the end, inevitably leads to loss of mind, becoming non-human. You should know this, right? Jiang Fan nodded. Practicing the slaughter skill requires consuming various demon beast blood since childhood, accumulating a manic, bloodthirsty aura within the body. With deepened cultivation, one day the manic, bloodthirsty intent will be uncontrollable by will. That is the moment of becoming a slaughtering madman. The end is naturally being exterminated by powerful individuals to prevent disaster. This Black Buddha scripture is said to have been written by a great bodhisattva who resides in hell. Reciting the scripture can suppress resentments, calm the blood aura. It's for the great bodhisattva to suppress hell. If my giant family gets this scripture, we can completely suppress the manic, bloodthirsty will within, forever practicing the way of slaughter without worries. Every generation of our giant family sends 2 people to search, one openly, one secretly. This generation is me and a guardian. I'm in the open, the guardian is in secret. But unfortunately, we haven't found it either. Jiang Fan's heart was overwhelmed. The Black Buddha scripture is indeed from the hands of a great bodhisattva. The great bodhisattva mentioned here is likely not the same as the bodhisattva at White Horse Temple. Probably a more ethereal existence than bodhisattva. A thought to help Jian Linyuan flashed through him, but he quickly suppressed it. The Black Buddha scripture is too mysterious, originating from a mausoleum land worshipping countless foreign tribe soul positions. Whether there's any cause and effect is still unknown. It's really not suitable to expose. At least with their current relationship, it's not worth exposing. Well, let's not digress. Jian Linyuan stopped talking, saying, "In short, our giant family is not inferior to many so-called divine sect teachings. You can imagine the foundation of our giant family. Hence, I offer a 1-month opportunity to deepen cultivation in my giant family in exchange for a revitalizing pill. Can you consider it, junior brother Jiang? What's there to consider? Such an ancient giant clan has frightening depth. The average person finds it as hard as climbing to get in. A month of deepened cultivation within is certainly an opportunity." Jiang Fan showed a helpless expression. "All right. Considering our decent relationship, I'll give you the last one." He took out the revitalizing pill. Jian Linyuan immediately took out the Jian family's identity token from his waist. It bore Jian Linyuan's name and a trace of his soul power. "When you arrive at Jian family, show this token, and I'll personally come to escort you." Oh, Jiang Fan was surprised. "You're returning to Jian family?" Jian Linyuan looked at the black crystal, helplessly saying, "These black crystals are extremely dangerous. If I guessed right, they are from the 10th layer. Moreover, soon some reckless disciple will trigger them, connecting to the 10th layer. With my strength, I can no longer explore. I can only return to the family and let stronger clan members come." This is probably what that female guardian was talking about. Jiang Fan nodded, exchanged items with Jian Linyuan, saying, "Then, senior brother Jian, we may meet again in Taikang State." Jian Linyuan cupped his hands, saying, "I look forward to seeing you again, wondering what cultivation you'll have by then." Jiang Fan cupped his hands, "Farewell." After saying, he turned and left, until his figure completely disappeared. The revitalizing pill in Jian Linyuan's palm vanished into thin air, seemingly being consumed by someone hidden in the dark. "HMPH? I only said to allow him to cultivate for 3 days. Why did you decide to allow him for a month?" The guardian was quite dissatisfied. Jian Linyuan smiled indifferently. "If he were indifferent to me and Leng Qingzhu, then I would do the same. A revitalizing pill only gives him 3 days of cultivation. But he is sentimental and righteous, of course, I can't be stingy." The guardian was dissatisfied. "That sly little rascal is lucky. Clearly, there were many revitalizing pills, but he said one, obviously trying to take advantage of me. I should have kicked him more back then." Just as she spoke, suddenly, her butt hurt and a foot slammed into her rear, sending her flying 8 meters away, landing with a hard fall. With an invisibility kun scale in one hand and holding the heavy pupil crystal in the other, Jiang Fan withdrew his big foot. Under the heavy pupil crystal's search, he finally saw the nasty woman who kicked him before. "Only you can kick people? Nasty woman, this is payback." Jiang Fan threw out 2 words in satisfaction, hurriedly leaving while the other hadn't recovered. That kick revenge was finally fulfilled, feeling great. The guardian groaned, clutching her sore butt, unable to stand for a while. She was already seriously injured. How could she endure such a kick? Jian Linyuan was stunned. "Sister, are you okay?" Unable to see, but he could hear his sister seem to have fallen hard. "That little bastard." Sister gritted her teeth. When she turned to look, she found the big footprint on her rear. She got even angrier. Her fists were tightly clenched. It's been so long and he's still holding a grudge. Wait and see. If you dare come to my Jian family, I'll tear you apart. Jian Linyuan touched his nose. Saying someone holds a grudge, don't you hold it even more? Sister, could you please spare junior brother Jiang this time for my sake? He's actually quite a good person. Sister got up, coldly saying, all right. Then you take the blame for him. Jian Linyuan shivered, remembering the scenes his sister usually beats him, quickly said, Sister, I was wrong. I'm not familiar with him. No, I've never had such a junior brother, Jiang. Charm's residence in high spirits. Upon learning that Leng Qingzhu was rescued and Li Shangqiu and others faced retribution, Shang Shiqiu and others were overjoyed beyond measure. After repeatedly expressing their gratitude, they immediately went to join Jian Linyuan and others. At this moment, another thunderous explosion was heard. Needless to say, someone probably triggered the black crystal, causing a space explosion. Jiang Fan's face turned serious as he said, this place is not safe for long. Let's quickly explore the last hidden space and leave immediately. Thus, they headed straight to the easternmost side. Even if they discovered small hidden spaces along the way, they couldn't afford to stop. They raced against time towards the east. Just as they arrived, another explosion was heard not far away. In the distance, a mushroom cloud was clearly visible. Jiang Fan dared not delay. He gazed at the endless pile of rubble before him. He directly used the heavy pupil crystal to break through the blinding technique created by the intertwined rocks. He found a safe path in and out. You wait here first. Let me handle the dangerous creatures inside before you enter. He went in alone. Soon he saw at the deepest part of the rubble a cave mansion filled with spider webs. The inside of the cave was extremely deep. He couldn't see anything. But at that moment, Jiang Fan's soul power had already reached the nascent soul realm. His perception had undergone tremendous changes. It was as though he had an extra pair of eyes, able to sense various previously undetectable fluctuations. At this moment, he detected an invisible creature at the entrance of the cave. He understood why the invisibility technique was ineffective against a nascent soul expert. The reason was that under the powerful soul, no subtle fluctuations could escape detection. The human-faced ghost pearl was still planning to ambush Jiang Fan. Without a second thought, Jiang Fan directly launched the soul-shocking stab. The soul-shocking stab, unleashed by a nascent soul-level soul, had incredible power. The human-faced ghost pearl just felt danger approaching, and all 8 legs pushed off to launch an ambush first. The next moment, all its 8 legs went limp and it lay motionless on the ground. Its soul had been shattered. It died on the spot. Jiang Fan kicked it aside and went inside the cave to explore. Upon entering, he was startled. The cave was densely packed with black crystals. One after another, they were everywhere. No wonder the human-faced ghost pearl wouldn't stay inside the cave. Even it was afraid of accidentally shattering the black crystals. With so many in front, if just one exploded, it would certainly cause a chain reaction. The resulting shockwave would be 10 times larger than the previous mushroom cloud. Cold sweat dripped from Jiang Fan's forehead. How dangerous! Luckily, I was cautious and only used soul power. If I had used the undying blade, the mere thought made Jiang Fan shiver. He took out the moon realm and notified everyone. Here's a name suggestion, do not enter, this place is perilous. After sending the message, no one responded. Jiang Fan slightly raised his eyebrows. 4 people and not one responded. He realized something was wrong. His heart tightened with tension. He quietly activated the invisibility Kun scale and discreetly hid among the rocks. Then he took out the sky observation treasure, cautiously checking the outside scene. As soon as it was activated, he detected something unusual. Gu Zinner and the others stood unmoving in their spots. Opposite them was Mu Ying's expedition team of 7. Enemies have arrived indeed. No wonder they didn't respond to the message. Wait! Jiang Fan faintly sensed something was amiss, his gaze fixed on the 7 people. They were indeed a team of 7, but one of them was peculiar. He was much more burly and towering than the others, with a pair of sharp horns on his head. Isn't this the alien lying dead on the desk in the spiritual tomb? What made Jiang Fan's gaze more solemn was, he was standing in midair. Nascent soul realm? Gu Zinner and the others were motionless because they were overwhelmed by his aura. Jiang Fan was in turmoil. If it were just him, he could directly escape with a cloud shadow. If necessary, there was also the 7-star treasure sword, spiritual weapon pocket crossbow, and the nascent soul. If he couldn't escape, he could at least get in a few moves. But what about Liu Qingxian and the others? I had suspected something odd when this expedition made its first visit to the underworld and received such high merit. I didn't expect they'd be carrying a living alien from the underworld. Moreover, the true strength is still unknown. Hua Xin sensed something too and said, "Why do I feel that a powerful entity has arrived?" Jiang Fan showed her the sky observation treasure. Hua Xin's expression changed dramatically, saying, "It's from the bloodthirsty Shura lineage. How can there be a living one in the outside world? This is impossible." Jiang Fan instantly caught a lot of information. Hua Xin seemed to have revealed a race he had never heard of, but these things didn't matter anymore. Can you tell what its cultivation is? If it's at nascent soul middle stage or late stage, absolute power makes all tactics futile. If it's at nascent soul early stage, then there might be some strategy possible. Hua Xin's eyes were fixed on the length of the horns on the other's head and estimated, saying, "At its strongest, it might be at the late nascent soul level for humans. Now it seems weakened, probably only at the 3 apertures nascent soul level." Only? That word left Jiang Fan speechless. He had to treat even a 1-orifice nascent soul with caution, let alone 3 apertures. Rescuing them seems difficult, but he had to try. Many thoughts raced in his mind, and he devised a plan. He took out the long-unused memory silver sand, carefully letting it cover a black crystal. Soon after, the memory silver sand replicated a section of black crystal. This silver sand's replication was virtually indistinguishable. Even a divinity transformation realm wouldn't notice. Grasping it tightly, Jiang Fan left the cave unperturbed, passing through the rocky heaps. He came outside, pretending to be surprised. "Expedition?" He nonchalantly positioned himself among the 4, appearing nonchalant. "You guys!" Gu Zinner barely dared to breathe, continuously signaling to Jiang Fan with her eyes. "This is a bloodthirsty Shura from that spiritual tomb, lying dead on the table, isn't it?" Yet it still left Jiang Fan with a heavy gaze. He was suspended in midair. The enemy has arrived indeed. No wonder they didn't respond. "Hang on." Jiang Fan vaguely realized something was wrong, his gaze fixated on the 7 figures. They were indeed a group of 7, but one of them seemed strange. The individual was obviously much larger and taller than them, with a pair of sharp horns on his head. Isn't this the entity that died lying on the table in the spiritual tomb? He looks even more daunting now. He made eye contact with Gu Zinner, who dared not even breath loudly. She kept sending imploring glances toward Jiang Fan. This indeed is from the bloodthirsty Shura lineage. How could there be a living one outside? Jian Linyuan immediately understood, exclaiming loudly, "This is the thing you found during your last exploration. You think you can use your Thunder Dao divine power?" Leng Qingzhu was silent, his sword resting on the ground, scanning the surroundings carefully. The more he inspected, the more amazed he was. This place had gathered so many different sources of power. The nascent soul power is just one type, and other powers unknown to them continued to emerge, leaving them struggling to respond. "If we don't go hard, we'll all perish here anyway, and there will be no way we can defend ourselves. Once this formation starts, we won't have the time to get out of the explosion zone. The bloodthirsty Shura in front of him, he's half dead already. This is our only chance." Jiang Fan clenched his fists, looking at Liu Qingxian. "Qingxian, once I make my move. We're exploring the final hidden space quickly, then leaving promptly." The atmosphere was extremely tense, and Liu Qingxian's expression also turned serious, her mind racing while she nodded sharply. Fan appeared to be seriously considering it. After a moment he said, "I choose the second one." Zing showed an expression of expectedness and said, "Kneel and acknowledge your master." He opened his mouth and a black bug crawled out. It was only thumb-sized, with a sharp head. The whole shape was like a small nail, able to quickly pierce into a person's body. Seeing this bug, Mu Ying and the others showed traces of fear on their faces. Jiang Fan frowned. "What is this?" Zing said indifferently. "The master's gift to you." Jiang Fan hesitated. Although there was chicken feather here, this bug did not dare to do anything to it. But what if? Should he continue pretending with them? Yu Tiandu, with a slightly cold expression, said, "Master, I don't think this person wants to submit to you at all. He needs to be taught a lesson." Then his gaze shifted to Liu Qingxian. Revenge flashed in his eyes, saying, "Master, this woman is his most beloved. Please grant her to me. If Jiang Fan doesn't listen, I'll properly train his woman." At this moment, Yu Tiandu completely dropped the pretense. On the surface, Zing cannot come out. But underground, even the heavenly mechanism pavilion master must flee. Jiang Fan, aren't you guarding your three beauties, not willing to let anyone have them? Then he just has to snatch one to play with. Zing was never interested in the squabbles between bugs. Indifferently nodded. Yu Tiandu walked over teasingly, smiling. Jiang Fan, when you slapped me back then, I swore in my heart, I must have your woman for myself, make you live in agony. Only then can I wash away the shame in my heart. Now Liu Qingxian is mine. Ha ha ha. Liu Qingxian bit her red lips slightly, grasping her sword tightly. Her eyes revealed a determined expression. How could she let Jiang Fan suffer such humiliation? She thought of the second sword taught by the one-armed elder, ready to strike at Zing, giving Jiang Fan a chance to escape. Gu Zinner, Xia Keoj, and Liang Feiyin each secretly mobilized their power, ready to act at any moment. But at the critical moment, a dark crystal appeared in Jiang Fan's palm. He walked to the front of everyone and said lightly, I suggest you talk properly. Otherwise, we all die together. Zing's indifferent face finally showed a trace of dread. He knows better than anyone what the black crystal is. Even if it exploded on him now, he would not be lightly injured. And what he is going to do next cannot allow any injury. Put down the black crystal and kneel to acknowledge me. That's your only way to live, Zing said coldly. While speaking, he quietly started to retreat. Jiang Fan said, I can acknowledge you as my master, but I have two conditions. Zing laughed heartily. Bargaining with me? You're not qualified. Jiang Fan gathered a mass of thunder breath in his palm and said lightly, in this underworld only I am proficient in thunder Dao divine power. You won't find a second person. Is that qualified enough? Zing fell into thought. After staring deeply at Jiang Fan for a while, he said indifferently, state your conditions. Jiang Fan raised his hand and pointed at Yu Tiandu. First, hand him over to me to deal with. What? Yu Tiandu was startled, angrily shouting, Jiang Fan, who do you think you are, daring to deal with the master's most loyal servant? Proper acknowledgement is your only way out. His panic was visible to the naked eye. And so he became more and more vehement. Zing, without thinking, said, okay. Yu Tiandu's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly pleaded, Master, you can't believe him. He's trying to sow discord. Zing waved his hand indifferently. A formless force flipped Yu Tiandu away. No ripple in his expression, he looked at Jiang Fan and said, just a blood bag. If you want it, take it. What loyalty. In his eyes, the greatest use of Yu Tiandu was for him to feed on his blood. Jiang Fan nodded slightly. Then he drew the purple sword, its cold sword body reflecting Jiang Fan's face colder than the sword. You have such a deep attachment to my woman, don't you? Jiang Fan slowly looked at him. The cold gaze made Yu Tiandu feel like he was plunged into an icy pit. He panicked immensely, seeking shelter. But Zing indifferently ignored him, so he cast pleading eyes on Mu Ying. Senior Sister Mu, help me say a good word. Mu Ying's face was full of disdain. Such a shameless thing, how dare he ask her for rescue? When on the surface, she had already reprimanded Yu Tiandu for angering Jiang Fan. Heh. Now thinking he gained the upper hand, attempting to seize Liu Qingxian in front of him, and the result, he directly negotiated with the master. Let alone Mu Ying unable to save him. Even if she could, she would never save such a disgusting thing. Junior brother Jiang. Mu Ying bowed slightly to Jiang Fan. Yu Tiandu has nothing to do with our expedition anymore. Deal with him as you wish. Please do not implicate the innocent among us. Yu Tiandu's heart kept sinking. Abandoned by Zing, forsaken by his former comrades, leaving him to face Jiang Fan alone. How could he be Jiang Fan's opponent? Had he known Jiang Fan had the black crystal as a trump card, he would have endured longer. Thinking of this, he resorted to the same trick, gritting his teeth, raising his hand to slap his own cheek hard. I deserve death, I'm a nobody. Junior brother Jiang to is human. I was momentarily blinded, please give me another chance to reform. I'm begging you. I'm kneeling for you. He knelt with a thud, his cheeks flushed red from slapping, looking as if he truly wanted to repent. No one would dare say he was acting, but only he could hear the venomous roar deep within. Jiang Fan, forcing me to slap myself, forcing me to kneel. I'll repay this 100-fold. Then I'll cripple your cultivation, capture your woman, and kill them in front of you. Finally, I'll ask you if you regret sparing me again. He was indeed thinking a bit too far and a bit too much. Jiang Fan's pace didn't pause. Instead, it became faster. Yu Tiandu's eyelids twitched, exclaiming fearfully, Jiang Fan, listen to me. I really know I was wrong this time. I won't dare again, I'm apologizing to you. Splat, a head rolled down following the sweep of the purple sword's light. His eyes were wide open, his mouth agape, his eyes filled with unwillingness and fear. Jiang Fan wiped the blood off the purple sword and said indifferently, "I said last time you would not have a chance to apologize again." He sheathed the purple sword. Jiang Fan looked at Zing. "My second condition is—" Zing said calmly, "An expected condition. I can only release 3, leave 1, and will talk after you acknowledge me as your master." He pointed at Liu Qingxian. "Since you are her woman, you must be the most important person. You stay, the others can leave." Liu Qingxian felt a sense of helplessness, but thinking of being able to share the upcoming troubles with Jiang Fan, she was not afraid. "Let me take her place." At this moment, Xianxia suddenly spoke up. She said to Liu Qingxian, "Junior sister Liu, let me. You have your parents and the sect. I am alone." Liu Qingxian shook her head. "No need. How cold and heartless is this alien race. Even a servant like Yu Tiandu can be casually discarded, left for others to slaughter. I'm afraid after Jiang Fan acknowledges the master. Once I lose my use, I will be killed or drained of blood." Xianxia winked at her. "Junior sister Liu, it's all right." Liu Qingxian understood her gaze. "Does it mean she has a way to escape?" She hesitated slightly. Zing couldn't help but laugh. "I've only seen those who push danger onto others. It's the first time I've seen someone who takes danger upon themselves. But why should I leave you behind? Who are you to Jiang Fan? Can your life and death threaten Jiang Fan?" Xianxia glanced at Jiang Fan, smiled, and said, "If I die, he will hold me and weep. If he goes missing, I will be distraught." It sounded like a deeply emotional relationship between a man and a woman. Zing didn't want to waste time. He nodded casually. "All right, you stay, the others can leave." Liu Qingxian looked meaningfully at Xianxia. Those 2 statements were not something a disciple should say to her uncle, but there was no time to think more. She cast an inquiring look at Jiang Fan. "Does Xianxia have a way to escape?" Jiang Fan was not too sure either, but thinking of Xianxia's many strange cultivation techniques, it seemed only fitting for her to stay. "All right, Xianxia will stay with me. The others should immediately retreat from the 9th layer. On the way, if you see people, inform them to leave. Tell them to leave the 9th layer immediately." Liu Qingxian nodded, looked reluctantly at Jiang Fan, and said, "Take care, husband." Then she quickly left with Gu Zinner and Liang Feiyan. Jiang Fan looked at Zing and said, "Once they are safe, we can start." Zing chuckled. "You are quite cautious." "All right, I'll give you 1 2-hour time." He casually tossed a bug to Jiang Fan. "When the time is up, put the bug into your brow yourself, don't make me do it." Jiang Fan looked wary. He carefully wrapped it in his sleeve and then placed it into the jade box. He felt the chicken feather at his chest slightly warming. This bug seemed somewhat afraid, but still retained a hint of ferocity. If he placed it on his brow, it would definitely burrow in. The chicken feather is clearly not omnipotent. Later, he could only try his best to escape. He looked into Xianxia's eyes, calmly activating Mute Zen. "Listen to my voice, don't panic." "Okay, uncle." Surprisingly calm. Jiang Fan was amazed in his heart. Uncle has many treasures, Xianxia is used to it. Oh, I see. Jiang Fan didn't think much of it. He had indeed shown many treasures to Xianxia before. "Soon we will have to escape. Do you have any means of fleeing?" "No." "What?" Jiang Fan was shocked, thinking to himself, "Then why did you stay?" He thought Xianxia was so composed because she had a backup plan, but she just answered with 2 words. "No. To keep Uncle company." Xianxia said crisply with a hint of excitement in her tone. Jiang Fan was speechless. "You'll lose your life. Are you crazy?" Xianxia avoided answering. "I've never been alone with Uncle. This is the first time. Xianxia has been looking forward to it." Jiang Fan's forehead veins twitched. "Are you not fully awake? What's there to look forward to? Can't you see how dangerous it is?" Xianxia flicked her hair and said indifferently, "I don't know what I'm looking forward to either. I just feel that being by Uncle's side will be interesting." Jiang Fan was at his wit's end. He really couldn't understand what was going on in her mind. But come to think of it, though they had known each other for a long time, they had never been alone together. At Skybreaking Canyon, when Jiang Fan was rescuing her from the encirclement, Liang Feiyan and Jin Zhangming were also there. During the war at Boundary Mountain, many people were present. On the mission to capture concubine Yanksia, there were also a lot of people. Never really had the opportunity to work solo with Xianxia. Shaking his head, Jiang Fan thought helplessly, "Hold on tight later. If you fall, don't blame me for leaving you behind." Xianxia thought for a moment, stepped forward, reached into the crook of Jiang Fan's arm, and gently locked onto his arm. In her heart, she thought, "Is this how you hold on?" "Uncle," Jiang Fan's expression changed slightly, "let go." They were supposed to have an uncle-niece relationship. Such intimacy wasn't appropriate. Xianxia didn't let go, pondering in her heart. Then how do I hold on tight? Holding. It seems upon serious thought that men and women should not touch hands in courtesy. Holding anywhere seems inappropriate. Whatever. A temporary measure, just don't let others see. Xianxia's mouth curled slightly. She turned her face away, and a slight blush flashed across her snow-white cheeks. In her heart, she thought, Uncle, can you tell me about your experience with the demon race? How did you survive and come back? I've always been curious. Many people were curious. But Jiang Fan had only talked about it with Su Yoren, Chen Silin, and Liu Qingxian. Now, since they were stalling for time, he leisurely recounted most of his experiences to her. Only the incident with concubine Yanksia was too sensitive, so he glossed over it. Uncle, you seem to be deliberately hiding something about that concubine Yanksia. You captured her and even searched her like that. Did she not trouble you afterward? Yet you said nothing. Jiang Fan was speechless. She was quite perceptive. Liu Qingxian and the others didn't notice anything, but Xianxia spotted the inconsistency immediately. All right, the 2-hour time is up. Zing tapped lightly on the Zing ring on his arm, looking slightly impatient. Jiang Fan estimated in his heart that they had safely left the 9th layer through the transmission array. Even if they hadn't reached the surface, they should be close by now. He said in his heart, hold tight. Xianxia, who had never let go, naturally tightened her grip on Jiang Fan's arm. Almost half of her body leaned against him. Jiang Fan, with a calm face, took out the bug and said, all right, I'll refine it now. SSS, without hesitation, he activated Cloud Shadow. In the next instant, he was ready to escape with the Thunder Dragon. Zing was very calm, nothing unexpected. I knew you wouldn't be honest, kid. If it were elsewhere, you might have gotten away. But this is the underworld. This is my territory. He looked in the direction Jiang Fan was fleeing, raised his hand, and gave a light squeeze forward. Puff, the Thunder Dragon, galloping forward, suddenly collided with something invisible and disintegrated on the spot. If Jiang Fan hadn't quickly wielded the purple sword, using sword flight, both of them would have likely fallen. What happened? Jiang Fan gazed suspiciously at the invisible space ahead. Scanning with powerful soul power, he was shocked to discover an invisible barrier ahead. It was like some sort of array, but not as resilient. Xianxia glanced at it and said, it's the ability of a magical treasure. This alien race called Zing can utilize the abilities of this building. Magical treasure? Jiang Fan was slightly stunned. You're saying that the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion is a magical treasure? Xianxia nodded gently. Yes. Otherwise, how do you explain such a vast underworld underground? And it's one layer after another. There's only one explanation. The entire Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion is actually a gigantic magical treasure. Each layer is a space within that magical treasure. Jiang Fan was shaken. But on closer thought, it was the most reasonable explanation. Like the lakeside scenic space he saw in the Divinity Transformation Relics Pavilion. However, Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion is much more colossal and complex than that pavilion. Also much more mysterious. That Zing should be from here and of significant status, so he can control the isolation capabilities of parts of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Xianxia took out a talisman and threw it forward. With an explosion, ripples spread out in the space. She frowned slightly, forming hand seals, and said, I have a cultivation technique that can break the barrier. But it requires time. Jiang Fan turned to look at Zing, approaching unhurriedly. They didn't have any time to spare. He immediately pulled out a small golden hammer. It was the array-breaking hammer he had extorted from the rebellious guy. Gripping the hammer, Jiang Fan smashed it forward hard. Crack, as if something had been torn apart, the invisible barrier crumbled and fell apart. It seems the array-breaking hammer is effective against barriers formed by magical treasures like these. He immediately used Cloud Shadow again, rushing forward to escape. Oh, Zing looked surprised. You can actually break the barrier of the underworld? That's unexpected. But how much can you break? He waved his sleeve. As Jiang Fan flew not too far, he sensed layer upon layer of spatial barriers that were endless. By the time they broke through each one, Zing would have caught up. At this moment, Xianxia completed her seals and gently pushed forward. A golden beam shot out from her hand seal, breaking all the dense spatial barriers along its path. Jiang Fan was startled. What kind of strange, divine skill is this? But he didn't dare hesitate and immediately disappeared, riding the Thunder Dragon. Zing's ever-calm expression finally changed. How can this technique appear in this place? In a moment of distraction. Jiang Fan had already vanished without a trace. He couldn't help but be annoyed. "Can you really escape from me?" Tracking the thunder power's trace, he decisively pursued. Jiang Fan performed Cloud Shadow 9 times in succession, ultimately crossing most of the 9th layer, very close to the transmission array now. As the two slightly relaxed, suddenly, an earth-shattering explosion occurred on the horizon. Another black crystal had been shattered. However, what surprised Jiang Fan was, amidst the massive mushroom cloud, several phoenix shadows were dancing. The phoenix shadows flew toward this place. Upon getting closer, they discovered. Among the phoenix shadows, there was actually a jade-carved phoenix chair. Yanksia sat on it, unharmed, unaffected by the explosion at all. Jiang Fan's pupils constricted. He finally understood why Yanksia said this jade-carved phoenix chair could increase the tribulation crossing probability by 30%. Such a violent explosion, yet it could protect its master from harm. During tribulation, sitting on this jade-carved phoenix chair would significantly reduce the damage from heavenly tribulation, wouldn't it? Jiang Fan's heart pounded. Yanksia also noticed them, casting a light glance at Jiang Fan before heading for the transmission array. "What a remarkable chair," Xianxia marveled. "It seems to have a force of space power, capable of timely protecting someone within, shielding them from external harm." Jiang Fan's heart raced, eager to take it out for study. But suddenly, he felt a huge suspicion arise in his heart. Something's not right. This was already the second time he couldn't wait to take out the jade-carved phoenix chair for research, each time spurred by Yanxia's intentional or unintentional words and actions. The first time, Yanxia suddenly told him the jade-carved phoenix chair could increase tribulation crossing probability. The second time, Yanxia herself encountered danger, showcasing the magical function of the jade-carved phoenix chair. If he hadn't noticed anything earlier. Now, Jiang Fan had a faint suspicion. Was the explosion just now deliberately triggered by Yanxia, meant for Jiang Fan to see? Wouldn't Jiang Fan, once tempted, research the jade-carved phoenix chair immediately? Could there be a problem with this jade-carved phoenix chair? Once taken out, would it trigger some trap? Remembering how Yanxia had set up the gravity array in front of the mausoleum cave, he confirmed his suspicions, filled with a sense of dread. No wonder this woman never urged him to return the jade-carved phoenix chair. Turns out, there's a hidden mystery with this chair. She's been waiting for Jiang Fan to trigger the trap on it. But Jiang Fan, having too many treasures, couldn't bother leaving the jade-carved phoenix chair in a corner collecting dust. Never having a chance to study it, she had no choice but to appear, subtly enticing Jiang Fan to use the jade-carved phoenix chair. Understanding the story, Jiang Fan wiped the sweat off his forehead. What a scheming woman. Almost fell for it. But I have the array breaking hammer. The trap on this jade-carved phoenix chair might not be able to harm me. He smiled slightly. Once more he used Cloud Shadow, flashing to the front of the array. The two wordlessly jumped onto the array, using the Space Jade token to activate it. Buzz, the array activated immediately. A white beam enveloped the two of them. Just as they were about to successfully teleport, the array suddenly stopped functioning. "What's happening?" Jiang Fan's face changed as he looked around. Nothing seemed to have interfered with the array until he looked down. Jiang Fan discovered a thick layer of yin qi covering the transmission array. It obscured the inscription, causing the teleportation to fail. In the distance came Zing's calm laughter. "Quite surprising, isn't it?" He stood with hands clasped, speaking lightly. "The underworld is my territory. Anyone wishing to leave must first ask my permission." Zing could even control the spatial arrays of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. This was completely unexpected. Jiang Fan's expression turned serious. Now they were truly in trouble. His thunder power was running low, not enough to escape far, looking at Zing drawing near. Jiang Fan glanced at Xianxia beside him. He might still be useful, possibly keeping him alive a little longer, but Xianxia was certainly going to be killed. His mind raced, thinking about all the methods he had. If it were a second-stage nascent soul, they might handle it. 3 apertures nascent soul, a sense of suffocation enveloped him. Suddenly, he thought of something, his eyes brightened, but there was hesitation. He glanced sideways and said, "Keoj, are you willing to take a gamble with your martial uncle? A gamble that might cost us our lives." Keoj's crystal eyes flickered slightly. "With Uncle Master live and die together?" "All right," she agreed with unusual briskness. There was even a small expectation and excitement, but Jiang Fan had no time to savor her tone. He gritted his teeth. activated the cloud shadow technique and headed towards the human-faced Ghost Pearl's cave residence. Zing wore a faint smile. Oh, running back. The ninth layer world is completely sealed now. Where else can he run? Turning around, he leisurely pursued Jiang Fan. It had a cat-and-mouse kind of tease. After 3 uses of cloud shadow, Jiang Fan's thunder power was completely exhausted. He had no choice but to take out the 9-dragon bronze chariot, injecting the water source essence into it at any cost to hurry. This vehicle in speed was no less than a nascent soul. Only by reaching the human-faced Ghost Pearl do they have a glimmer of hope for survival. But it was just a hope. Uncle Master, how many treasures do you have after all? Xianxia looked at the spacious carriage, and even someone as unemotional as she couldn't help but exclaim. She thought what she had sneaked a peek at in the Thunder Pool was shocking enough. Unexpectedly, Jiang Fan had more treasures, and they were quite astonishing. Jiang Fan had no time to respond to her. Took out the jade-carved phoenix chair, holding a top-grade luminous pearl in one hand, holding the array-breaking hammer in the other hand. After a quick glance, he didn't find anything unusual. No traps, as he had imagined. Using the soul of the nascent soul realm to investigate carefully also didn't reveal any suspicious fluctuations. Am I overthinking? Jiang Fan rubbed his chin, pondering slightly. After a brief moment of thought, he cautiously took out the heavy pupil crystal and mumbled, "This woman's calculative power is so deep, must not underestimate." With the heavy pupil crystal covering his eyes, all illusions would have nowhere to hide. With one sweep, it really let Jiang Fan discover the problem. On the right armrest, there was a well-hidden light point. It was an array compressed to the extreme. Just a slight touch would trigger it. "Ha, want to play mind games with me?" Jiang Fan laughed. He was pondering placing it in a safe spot and triggering it from afar, but after a thought, wouldn't keeping it be better to use against an enemy? Immediately, he carefully separated it and wrapped it with an explosion talisman, stuffing it into his sleeve. In this way, the jade-carved phoenix chair was safely in hand. "Uncle Master, I have a question for you," Xianxia, with hands on her back, suddenly asked. Jiang Fan happily put away the jade-carved phoenix chair and said, "Go ahead." Xianxia asked, "Was there another woman in this carriage?" Jiang Fan's heart skipped a beat. Nonchalantly said, No such thing. I just got this chariot recently." "Really?" Xianxia brought her little hands from behind. Each hand pinched a soft white silk-like hair. "What's this then? It looks so familiar." She had a slight smile. She clearly recognized it as the fur from the 9 tails of concubine Yanksia. Jiang Fan's expression slightly froze and said, She just hitched a ride." "Don't overthink it." Xianxia said nothing, lightly plucked a few more strands off the floor. "Just a ride and this much fur fell off. Did you have a fight? And a fierce one at that?" The smile at her mouth deepened. Jiang Fan was quite embarrassed. He forgot to clean up the carriage afterward. Seeing Xianxia looked like she had discovered a big secret. Jiang Fan poked her forehead in annoyance. "Don't pry into Uncle Master's matters. Sit properly, don't move around." Xianxia pressed her red lips, turned her face away. The smile on her lips quickly faded. Having gotten a definite answer, she couldn't smile at all. Her heart felt inexplicably heavy. Rumble, the wheels rolled. Despite the 9-dragon bronze chariot performing at its peak, it was eventually caught up by Zing. He showed a trace of surprise. "Quite a few treasures. Unfortunately, they are of no use." He waved his hand, releasing a terrifying nascent soul aura. Jiang Fan's face was grim. He wasn't too surprised about being caught up. Looking at the human-faced Ghost Pearl's cave residence, which was not far, he gritted his teeth and took out another shell of water source essence. "Dragon spirit!" Roar. The 1,000-foot body of the dragon spirit suddenly emerged, meeting Zing's strike. In just an instant, the dragon spirit was scattered, turned into fragments of the soul, and returned to the 9-dragon bronze chariot. Jiang Fan looked distressed. Once the dragon spirit disperses, it takes a long time to reform. However, it also managed to block one strike from Zing. Taking advantage of Zing's spent energy, he resolutely shot the last crossbow arrow from his sleeve. Zing's gaze tightened. Even as a 3 apertures nascent soul, it didn't mean he could stand still and take a nascent soul strike. He immediately sidestepped and dodged, coldly hummed, "Boy, you have many tricks, but in front of me none of them are enough." He leaped and dashed towards the 9-dragon bronze chariot at high speed. The powerful aura pressed the carriage to the point of whirring, as if about to fall apart. "Kaoj, how much further?" Jiang Fan asked while watching Zing chase from behind without turning his head. Xianxia quickly leaned her head out to look at the human-faced ghost spider's cave and said, "Almost there. At most 10 breaths. 10 breaths. In the face of such a powerful nascent soul, every breath is hard to withstand." Seeing Zing about to catch up, he yelled, "Soul-shocking stab?" The nascent soul realm's soul secret technique, when unleashed, naturally had earth-shattering power. Zing instantly felt a soul-piercing pain. His advancing figure paused. "Your soul power has reached a 1-aperture nascent soul level. You're even a left-down nascent soul. I've really underestimated you." A trace of killing intent swirled in his eyes. For a dignified 3 apertures nascent soul, capturing a core formation junior turned out to be such trouble. "Stop for me!" He raised his palm, gathering terrifying nascent soul power, preparing to smash the bronze chariot in one blow, to leave him with no ability to escape. Upon seeing this, Xianxia gritted his teeth and painfully drew the 7-star treasure sword, preemptively striking with a slash, clang. A 1,000-foot sword shadow fiercely descended. Zing, who was about to strike, had a change in expression. He had to fend off this strike first. He raised his palm to shatter the sword shadow, taking advantage of this opportunity. The bronze chariot had already reached the human-faced ghost spider's cave. Xianxia raised the sword again. Zing was infuriated. "Little ant, you've had enough fun. I will sever your legs first and see how you escape." After being attacked repeatedly, Zing was completely enraged. He opened his mouth and spat out a blood-colored chain, heading straight for the bronze chariot, not giving him a chance to strike with a sword anymore. However, this sword of Xianxia was not directed at him. Instead, it was turned around to strike at the human-faced ghost spider's cave in front. Zing was slightly taken aback, puzzled by Xianxia's actions. But then he suddenly recalled that all the caves encountered along the way were filled with black crystals. Instantly understanding what he intended to do, his countenance changed dramatically. "Stop!" The power of those black crystal explosions could be described as earth-shattering. Even he was terrified by it. Xianxia coldly said, "You also have something you're afraid of," with a sword swing. The 1,000-foot sword shadow descended, directly blowing open the pile of chaotic rocks, collapsing the hidden cave inside, revealing those densely packed hundreds of black crystals. Even Zing gasped upon seeing it. He let out a terrified roar, "Stop! Don't move." Update: so many black crystals exploded at once. Even he would face great danger and have a chance of death. Moreover, with so many black crystals exploding, it would definitely blow open the passage to the 9th and 10th layers. Inside the 10th layer, there are some entities he is extremely apprehensive of, if he were to inadvertently disturb them. Thinking of this, his face turned slightly pale. Xianxia coldly snorted, "Didn't you give me 2 choices? Die or recognize you as my master? I choose the 3rd option. Everyone dies together." With the 7-star treasure sword in his hand, he fiercely swung it down. The shadow of the mighty sword mercilessly descended, striking a pile of black crystals. "No!" Zing screamed repeatedly in fright. His figure retreated violently, his face was full of terror. In his heart, he prayed for the black crystal explosion to be slower, allowing him to escape. But the next instant, hundreds of black crystals simultaneously shattered open. Each one was at the level of a mushroom cloud. What sort of scene was it when so many exploded together? All you could hear was a buzzing sound. The world lost its sound. Even the 3 apertures of Zing's nascent soul were shattered instantly, losing hearing. An immense firelight containing space power surged like a sky-covering tsunami. In an instant, it engulfed them. Xianxia had already decisively taken out the jade-carved phoenix chair after swinging his sword. He sat down heavily on it. Then he quickly grabbed Xianxia's waist, pulling her to sit on his lap. He barely managed to infuse spiritual power into the jade-carved phoenix chair, activating it. The black flame tsunami engulfed them, covering the sky and the sun. And it headed in all directions, destroying everything in its path. The massive earthquake it triggered spread to the entire 9th layer world. In front of the transmission array leading to the 10th layer, Xianxia and Su Yoren were preparing to head to the 10th layer. Suddenly, a great earthquake struck. Countless cracks extended to the front of their feet. Xianxia's face changed, quickly grabbing Su Yoren. Thus, Su Yoren didn't fall to the ground because of the shock. The two glanced toward the source of the earthquake. An immense mushroom cloud soared into the sky. Even the sky of the underworld was too low to accommodate the mushroom cloud. It collided with the top of the sky curtain, then rolled toward the 4 directions along the sky curtain. as it reached above their heads. A scorching wave rushed toward them. One couldn't imagine what scene was at the very center of the explosion. "Let's go take a look." Gu Huaxi, eyes full of shock, quickly led Su Yoren to the source of the earthquake. The surrounding earth had all turned into rolling magma, emitting masses of black smoke. At the center, it blasted out a 10-mile-wide black abyss. Endless yin qi, accompanied by chilling winds, blew toward the ninth layer. Gu Huaxi gasped in surprise. "The ninth layer has been blown through. Quick, the creatures of the 10th layer might come out." She wanted to take Su Yoren to the already explored area of the 10th layer. The danger there was less, and there were some opportunities. But the current abyss, who knows where it leads to in the 10th layer? Who knows if it has awakened some supreme monstrous beasts? Su Yoren's face turned slightly pale. She slowly retreated. Thud, accidentally, she seemed to step on something soft, looking down. She found she stepped on a strange creature only the size of a fist with its entire body scorched. It resembles a human baby, somewhat cute, but it had a pair of silver horns on its head, showing its identity as part of the alien race. She was startled, immediately moving her foot away. "Master, what is this?" Gu Huaxi looked over, also seeing it for the first time. It should be a creature from the 10th layer that was incidentally blown here. "It looks like it's almost dead. Come on, let's not bother with it and leave this place quickly." Su Yoren nodded, turned, and was about to leave. Just then her foot paused slightly. Looking down, the little spirit that was on the edge of death was clutching her shoe heel with its tiny hands. It seemed like it was asking her for help. Looking at this little creature resembling a human infant, she felt a surge of compassion. She squatted down and took out a revitalizing pill. Gu Huaxi said with a pained expression, "Why are you bothering with it? Revitalizing pills are such precious pills, why not keep them for yourself?" Su Yoren said. "Didn't Fan often use revitalizing pills to save strangers? This little thing seems to be just an infant. Let's just give it one." She immediately fed the revitalizing pill to it. The silver-horned little alien seemed to realize that the revitalizing pill was something good and opened its little mouth to suck it in. It made a soft, childish sound, as if thanking Su Yoren. Initially, she was a bit afraid of this never-before-seen creature, but seeing that it had no intention of causing harm, Su Yoren mustered her courage and gently wiped the blood off its forehead, saying, "Don't be afraid, it will be okay soon." Upon hearing this, the silver-horned little alien began to wail, like a child who had been wronged. "Don't cry." Su Yoren was at a loss for what to do, quickly trying to console him. But nothing seemed to calm him down. "Are you missing your parents? Shall I take you back to the 10th layer? However, I can't go too deep, I can only take you inside, and you need to find your way alone, okay?" The silver-horned little alien seemed to understand. It gradually stopped crying and reached out its little hands for a hug. Su Yoren, feeling sorry, picked it up and gently comforted it in her arms. Gu Huaxi had been on guard all along. This creature, no matter how small, was a creature of the 10th layer. It couldn't be underestimated. Fortunately, it was truly severely injured and had no intention of harming anyone. Only then did Gu Huaxi feel at ease, saying, "Yoren, don't be too kind-hearted, you might suffer for it." Su Yoren played with the silver-horned little alien, replying, "It's still a baby. If it were an adult alien race, I naturally wouldn't dare to be so kind-hearted." Gu Huaxi nodded in satisfaction. They returned to the array and entered the 10th layer. And at the bottom of this abyss with a diameter of 10 miles, amidst a ruin, a jade-carved phoenix chair, half buried in the soil. A few phoenix shadows circled around it. On the jade chair, Xianxia's brow shimmered with a green light point, awakening her gently. "Where am I?" She groggily looked around. She found that this place was even darker than the 9th layer, and the yin qi was even denser. Looking up, the sky seemed to have collapsed, revealing a huge gap. "Did I fall into the 10th layer?" She immediately understood her situation. Frightened, she got up at once. The 10th layer, where even late-stage nascent soul cultivators could fall. Yet, she then realized that her waist was tightly held. Looking down, it was Jiang Fan, with his hands tightly clasped, holding her securely. Turning her head, Jiang Fan's face bore a long blood stain, a result of his head crashing into the jade-carved phoenix chair during the violent explosion's shockwave. Xianxia's gaze softened. "Even knocked unconscious, he still holds me so tightly." The terror of that explosion was immense, though the jade-carved phoenix chair deployed space power in time, mitigating most of the harm. The powerful impact was extremely intense. Xianxia thought she was certain to be thrown from the jade-carved phoenix chair. Unexpectedly, Jiang Fan held onto her firmly even until he passed out. Looking at Jiang Fan's face, Xianxia seldom had the opportunity to look carefully, murmuring, "Uncle Master is so good to me, I wonder how good he must be to his women. No wonder they are all utterly devoted to him. Liu Qingxian, Yue Mingzhu, not even hesitating to vie with Su Yoren. Oh, and there's concubine Yunxia." Thinking of this, she couldn't help but stretch out a jade finger, gently poking his brow, slightly puffing her snow-white cheeks. "Even demon emperor concubine is taken by you, truly a gentleman of the flowers." This poke startled Jiang Fan awake from his unconscious state. Xianxia was taken aback. She quickly feigned unconsciousness, leaning against his chest and closing her eyes. Fan slowly awoke. His consciousness quickly cleared after a brief moment of confusion. He glanced around, quickly realizing where he was. He couldn't help but be taken aback. "The 10th layer," he quickly said. "Xianxia, wake up." Xianxia then pretended to have just woken up, sleepily saying, "Uncle Master, where are we?" She reluctantly left Jiang Fan's chest. No wonder Liu Qingxian and the others leaned into Jiang Fan's arms whenever they saw him. Resting on Uncle Master's chest, it's really comfortable. "Don't ask, just hurry and go." Jiang Fan quickly stood up, putting away the jade-carved phoenix chair. He grabbed her hand and flew towards the 9th layer atop a sword. Unexpectedly, he discovered that his spiritual power couldn't be used. "Xianxia, try your spiritual power." A very uneasy premonition rose in Jiang Fan's heart. Xianxia hesitated. "Oh, let me try." The next moment, Xianxia's expression also turned ugly. "Uncle Master, my spiritual power has been sealed." Jiang Fan's heart sank. He hastily pulled out the ghost soul crystal, looking at the Hua Xin inside. "Do you know what is going on?" Hua Xin had already been intently scanning the surroundings, revealing a trace of fear. "Your spiritual power can't be activated. Then I must congratulate you both. Your luck is really something. You've managed to fall right into the 10th layer's forbidden zone. This is a place even the beings of the 10th layer dare not approach. Here, powers including the human clan's spiritual power and nascent soul power, the demon race's innate divine abilities and demon power, as well as the Asura clan's various divine skills, all become ineffective." Jiang Fan's heart thudded. "A forbidden zone? Is there something here?" He thought of the ancient sleeping saint that the heavenly mechanism pavilion had been searching for over the millennia. The beings here could even kill a late-stage nascent soul, yet they dared not come. This shows that there is something extremely frightening here in the forbidden zone. "I don't know, but you'd better leave quickly." Jiang Fan's face was solemn. He looked toward an opening above and said, "Let's hope we're lucky and this forbidden land is not larger than the opening above." If this opening was entirely within the forbidden land, they wouldn't be able to use spiritual power to fly up, to go back. They could only traverse the 10th layer and head to that transmission array. Who knows what fearsome beings they might encounter along the way, unimaginable. "Let's go." Jiang Fan grabbed Xianxia and immediately headed outside. All around was a gray mist, nothing was discernible. Even a soul scan would be blocked back. Directionless, it seemed futile to choose a path. Clatter, however, after only a few steps. From the ruins ahead, there was a commotion. A massive figure staggered, rising from the debris. It was Zing. What on earth? So many black crystals exploded, yet they didn't kill him. Though he survived, he was in a miserable state. A large hole had been blasted open in his abdomen, where torn organs were clearly visible inside. Furthermore, his body had multiple penetrations. Black blood oozed from everywhere, like a shattered statue. Once Zing regained consciousness, he also saw Jiang Fan not far away. His face was instantly full of murderous intent. "Little people clan, I'll slaughter you." With a wave of his hand, he intended to unleash the terrifying power of his 3 apertures nascent soul. To his surprise, he only stirred up the dust in front of him, not able to exert any force. "What's going on? Where's my Asura power?" Zing asked in surprise. Jiang Fan finally breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed true as Hua Xin had said. Even the Asura clan loses their power in the Forbidden Land. However, whether other powers were also sealed was unknown. He tried using Void Flow Thunder Force and Fire Force, and to his delight found that both could be activated. In this case, he need not fear Zing too much. "Even without Asura power, killing you is easy as pie." Zing's eyes flashed murderously, charging forward like a lightning bolt. His physique was still at the 3 apertures nascent soul level of the humans. Crushing Jiang Fan should be no difficulty. Jiang Fan's expression concentrated. Decisively, he took out the 5 magnetic Yuan mountain, imprinting a seal upon it. The 5 magnetic Yuan mountain doubled in size, growing with the wind. Previously, its maximum size was that of a small mound. Now it barely counted as a small mountain. The 5-colored small mountain was immediately hurled outward, landing atop Zing. Boom! The small mountain pressed down fiercely, causing Zing's 3 apertures nascent soul knees to buckle, nearly making him kneel. Get off! He shook his arms, wanting to knock the 5 magnetic Yuan mountain away. 5 magnetic divine light! Jiang Fan struck again. The 5 magnetic Yuan mountain radiated divine light in a radius of 6 zhang. This divine light not only had a larger range than before, but also stronger imprisoning ability. Zing felt part of his physique strength was sealed, unable to exert his force. His knees could no longer bear it, and he fell to his knees with a thud. Jiang Fan's eyes shone, immediately rushing forward. With his left hand wielding Void Flow Thunder Force and his right hand Void Flow Fire Force, he struck at Zing's head. "Little People Clan!" Zing bellowed, lowering his head, the 2 horns atop aiming fiercely at Jiang Fan. A bloodthirsty Shura of 3 orifice nascent soul level was forced to butt like a bull. Jiang Fan swiftly used his left hand to grasp the horns with Void Flow Thunder Force. His right hand's Void Flow Fire Force slapped onto Zing's face. Ah! The blood-red Void Flow Fire Force immediately scorched his face beyond recognition. One eyeball couldn't withstand the heat and exploded on the spot. Zing bellowed in agony. Perhaps due to the pain, before the other eye got burnt out, he managed to blast off the 5 magnetic Yuan mountain. Then he struck at Jiang Fan's chest with a punch. Yet Jiang Fan had already dodged away as the 5 magnetic Yuan mountain got sent flying. A formidable chi force swept past Jiang Fan, leaving a 1,000 zhang groove on the ground. "I'll annihilate you." Zing, missing his strike, covered his bleeding eye, launching another punch. Swearing to obliterate Jiang Fan, he regretted it deeply. Regretting why he hadn't killed him sooner, bringing about such a catastrophe. Jiang Fan's expression changed. Even a gravely wounded 3 apertures nascent soul is far beyond what he can contend with. Immediately he pulled Xianxia, fleeing in any direction possible. But without spiritual power and lacking thunder power, how could they outrun a 3 apertures nascent soul with just physique? Seeing that they'd be caught. Suddenly, a massive shadow emerged ahead in their path. Getting closer, they realized it was a towering pyramid, constructed entirely with black stone bricks. The walls were coated with claw marks and dried ancient blood stains, as though it had withstood a ferocious assault. And around the pyramid, countless remains lay scattered, all in kneeling postures with their buttocks raised and heads touching the ground in a worshipping stance. Looking around, all around the pyramid were worshipping skeletons, at least over 10,000. It was as if an entity on the pyramid terrified them, causing them to worship unto death. Zing followed closely behind in pursuit. Upon seeing the pyramid in front, he was visibly startled. Then, realizing something, his face changed drastically, retreating rapidly. "Wugu altar! This is the forbidden land of the 10th layer? Damn, how did I end up here?" He immediately gave up chasing Jiang Fan and turned to run. Jiang Fan also felt a chilling sensation. If this altar has a master, it's definitely a presence they cannot afford to provoke. Looking at Zing's quickly retreating figure, Jiang Fan's eyes flickered. Follow him? Since he could name Wugu altar, he must have been here before. Following him is the fastest way to exit the forbidden land. Xianxia glanced at the altar, his eyes filled with azure blue light. He seemed to be able to see very far away. Moments later, his face became slightly grave. Someone was here before. Jiang Fan was shocked. An altar worshipped by 10,000 corpses, and someone actually lived there. It's unimaginable what kind of person could withstand such worship. Thankfully, there was someone before. If there were someone now, how terrifying would that be? Xianxia nodded slightly. "I saw a tea table. There is a cup of tea on it, and it's still steaming." Jiang Fan's pupils contracted sharply. "You mean someone was there not long ago?" Xianxia calmly said. "Yes." Hiss. Jiang Fan drew in a cold breath, feeling his hair stand on end. It felt like a mortal entering a den of wolves and tigers to chop wood. He felt a chill on his back, as if a pair of eyes were staring at him. "Let's go," he pulled Xianxia, running wildly all the way. For the first time in his life, he felt panic. Though Zing noticed Jiang Fan following him, he had no mind to care, because he knew what kind of existence resided on the Wu Gu altar. It was an entity that could annihilate him with just a glance of its eye. Cold sweat ran down his face. Relying on memory, he quickly ran towards the edge of the Forbidden Land. An hour later, he finally reached the edge of the Forbidden Land, and the Asura power within him began to loosen slightly, indicating that he was about to leave the range of the Forbidden Land. But in the next instant, he froze in place. At the edge of the Forbidden Land, there was a small stream. An old woman in a gray robe squatted in front of the stream, washing some dusty spirit fruits. She sensed someone behind her. The old woman turned her head to look at him. Poof, with just one look. Zing spewed a large mouthful of blood, his body like a balloon pushed to its limit, showing cracks. Terrified and desperate, he hurriedly knelt on the ground. "Master, spare me," he recognized her. The old woman in front of him was the master of the Wu-Gu altar. Once, she had waged battles across millions of miles, annihilating countless creatures as the Asura king. It was she who set up the Forbidden Land. The old woman slowly stood up, tossing the unwashed fruit back into the basket. Her gaze passed over him, looking into the Forbidden Land. "How did you get in there?" With this question, Zing felt ripples of pain as if being torn apart. Terrified, he stammered. "The black crystal exploded, connecting the upper and lower layers, and I accidentally fell into the Forbidden Land. Please show mercy, master." The old woman's expression changed slightly. "You better pray that the young master is unharmed. Otherwise, everyone who entered will have to be buried with them." With that, she stepped into the Forbidden Land. "Follow!" The voice of the old woman came from within the Forbidden Land. Zing could only bitterly smile and follow her, without the slightest thought of escape. On the other hand, regarding Jiang Fan and the others, Zing ran so fast that they lost track of him. After a maddening search, they stumbled upon a vegetable garden. "This place is already outside the Forbidden Land." Xianxia found that he could use his spiritual power again. He let out a slight sigh of relief. Jiang Fan also breathed a long sigh of relief, finally out of the Forbidden Land. Looking back, the rift in the sky had long disappeared. This meant they could no longer return via the sky and must traverse the 10th layer. "Uncle, why is there a vegetable garden here? Could it be planted by the owner of that altar?" Jiang Fan glanced upward, finding crops filled with intense yin qi. Among the human clan, aside from a sect like the Great Yin sect that needs yin qi for corpse refining, no one else could possibly use these. Moreover, he dared not touch the belongings of the altar's master. Zing said instead, "These are heaven and earth spiritual treasures formed by absorbing yin qi of heaven and earth. Unique in the outside world. You should dig some up, they will come in handy one day." Jiang Fan glanced at Zing. "If you want to eat them, just say so. Stop prompting me." This item was clearly a divine object greatly beneficial for Zing. She wanted it for herself, but pretended to have Jiang Fan's best interest in mind. "If I say so directly, will you dig?" Zing retorted angrily. Jiang Fan responded decisively, "Of course not." Entangle with the master of the altar for Zing's sake, he wasn't that foolish. Zing huffed. "Dig a few for me? I'll ensure you cross the 10th layer safely." Jiang Fan chuckled. Taking out the yin marrow talisman, he waved it, saying, "Sorry, I have my own methods." Back then, it was the yin marrow talisman that subdued the double-headed hellhound into laying down. Not only did it not dare to attack Jiang Fan further, but it also spat out a black bell to him. This tiger talisman should also subdue other creatures of the 10th layer. Zing bit her lip. What a bastard. Why is it so hard to gain a little advantage over him? "Then I'll tell you this. Near the transmission array of the 10th layer, there's a small secret abode. Inside, there are many space magical treasures, along with a few magical treasures related to puppetry technique. I once sneaked in to take a look." Oh. Jiang Fan became suspicious. Why does this sound so familiar? Space magic treasures, puppetry technique. Isn't this Wu Manyu stuff? Combined with the endless array of magical treasures she always seemed to have, Jiang Fan immediately understood where her things came from. The 10th layer, many must have wondered where her belongings originated. But few would have guessed they came from the 10th layer. Because even nascent soul experts dare not venture into the 10th layer. Who would believe that Wu Manyu, a disciple of the 7th level of core formation, would come to the 10th layer? This is also why this abode hadn't been tracked or discovered by others. Wu Manyu's lair? Haha, this is indeed interesting. Speaking of which, I haven't seen Wu Manyu since we entered the underworld. Could she have sneaked into the 10th layer? Jiang Fan revealed a slight smile. Without hesitation, he said, "All right." He immediately entered the vegetable garden and after several cautious probes, confirmed it was not dangerous. He uprooted half the garden, taking all sorts of different vegetables. Hua Zin was dumbfounded. I just wanted you to get a few. You've picked clean half of the vegetable garden? What if they come looking for trouble? If it's just a few, perhaps they wouldn't bother, but half the garden. Wouldn't they chase after you with a hoe? Jiang Fan stuffed various vegetables into a separate space storage device and placed it together with the ghost soul crystal. Why would it be me who picked them? Among us three, only you eat this stuff. Wait, what does this mean? You expect me to take the blame? Fan, can you act more like a human? Jiang Fan gave a slight smile. Since he decided to pick, he naturally picked more. Once outside, it's best if he can use them. If not, he would feed them to Hua Zin. They would not go to waste. Everything was ready. He looked around. After leaving the Forbidden Land, all senses became significantly clearer. He could even clearly perceive a faint spatial fluctuation far away, without a doubt. That's where the spatial array was located. Locking onto the direction, he held the Yin Marrow talisman in his hand and said, Keoj, stay close to me. Xia Keoj nodded. I know what to do. She moved closer to Jiang Fan, skillfully linked arms with Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan was taken aback for a moment. I asked you to follow, not to cling to me, just as he was about to push her away. Suddenly, a fierce aura rapidly approached. Compared to the previous double-headed hellhound, it seemed even stronger. Hua Zin's expression tightened. Be careful. It's a two-aperture hell creature, equivalent to your second-stage nascent soul. Jiang Fan's eyes became grave. Under his gaze, a double-headed hellhound, exuding strong yin qi, came toward Jiang Fan. It was evidently a size larger than the double-headed hellhound they had seen before, exuding a fierce aura reaching the sky. Its speed was too fast, creating a series of afterimages. One moment it was on the horizon, the next it was 100 feet away. It opened its bloody mouth wide, blood-red eyes displaying a menacing look. With a lift of its paw, it could easily strike down the two of them. Jiang Fan's expression was serious. He decisively activated the Yin Marrow talisman, sending powerful yin qi towards it. The giant beast seemed to sense something. Its blood-red eyes suddenly looked at the Yin Marrow talisman in Jiang Fan's hand. The vicious, devouring look instantly turned cautious. It clawed the ground with its rear legs, seemingly afraid, but unwilling to give up the prey in front of it. In the end, it conquered its instincts, slowly backed away. Jiang Fan secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The tiger talisman is indeed useful, but its deterrent effect seems much weaker on stronger creatures. The original double-headed hellhound gave up chasing Jiang Fan quickly. This one hesitated for a while. Hua Zin said, That's of course. The stronger the hell creature, the stronger its resistance to the Yin Marrow talisman. Once it's above 3 apertures, the effect is negligible. Of course, 3-aperture hell creatures rarely show up. Even 2 apertures are scarce. Rarely, Jiang Fan felt the Yin Marrow talisman in his hand offered no guarantee of safety anymore. If he were to encounter a 4-aperture hell creature, wouldn't he be in trouble, looking at the double-headed hellhound about to retreat? Jiang Fan had a flash of inspiration. He took out the black bell. He never knew what this item was for. It didn't seem like a spiritual artifact or an item with symbolic significance like the Yin Marrow talisman. Encountering a double-headed hellhound now, why not test it? He shook the bell. A slightly piercing, jingling sound reached his ears. The double-headed hellhound, already turning to leave, suddenly turned back. Its 2 heads' eyes blazed with terrifying blood-red light. The tail behind its back rose and wagged continuously, showing its excitement and enthusiasm. It lowered its neck, wagged its tail, and moved toward Jiang Fan, seemingly trying to get close to him. But it was also wary of the Yin Marrow talisman in his hand, not daring to act rashly. Hua Zin glanced at the bell in Jiang Fan's hand. Her eyes nearly popped out. Why is the Hell Soul bell in your hand? Damn, I came to the 9th layer, searched for countless times. Nearly got killed by powerful creatures here several times, yet found no hint. Where did you get it from? At just one glance, Hua Zin's defenses broke right then and there. Even the perfect guise of concubine Yanksia she maintained started fluctuating. It was due to emotional fluctuations so intense she couldn't maintain it. Jiang Fan was stunned for a moment. This bell is very special. In truth, seeing the 2-aperture double-headed hellhound so ingratiating, he guessed the bell was extraordinary. What he didn't expect was Hua Zin's reaction to be so intense. Hua Zin's pitch-black eyes stayed glued to the black bell. This is the Hell Soul bell. Back in the day, a war erupted in Hell Realm for this bell. It spanned from Hell Realm all the way to your central Earth world. Ultimately, with such a commotion, it incurred the discontent of an ancient saint from Central Earth, who suppressed our Usura clan in the Central Earth world. Hua Zin's simple sentences, but it stirred up a tempest in Jiang Fan's mind. Hell Realm, Central Earth world, an ancient saint intervened. What's the background of Hua Zin? She knows that much. Moreover, the Hell Soul Bell in his hand is so defiant against heaven, even sparking a civil war in Hell Realm and affecting Central Earth world. What use is this bell? Jiang Fan asked. Hua Zin's eyes were filled with yearning. It can become. Suddenly, her voice was abruptly cut off, as if some invisible power silenced her. Hua Zin was taken aback for a moment and then became serious. I can't speak of it. Though I know in my heart I can't describe it to others. Jiang Fan was baffled. Surely, even in the divinity transformation realm, one shouldn't face such heavenly restrictions. The sages of the human clan, it seems, haven't been known for unmentionable names. Only the ancient saints have never been gossiped about. Could it be this bell is related to some ancient saint-level existence in Hell Realm? Thus, celestial secrets were blocked. Jiang Fan thought for a while and tentatively asked, is this an item belonging to an ancient saint-level figure from our Central Earth world? Hua Zin had just nodded. When her face suddenly transformed, yin qi gushed madly from within her, like a broken water bag. She was filled with panic, desperately trying to stop the yin qi from escaping, but to no avail. Her soul power, as the yin qi dispersed, visibly decreased. Jiang Fan took a sharp breath. Even this can't be mentioned. What kind of forbidden existence is this? He quickly took out a large handful of harvested vegetables and put them into the ghost soul crystal. Hua Zin quickly clung to them, eating as if her life depended on it. Only thanks to the abundantly rich yin qi in the vegetables, she could temporarily maintain the balance, preventing further depletion. Jiang Fan continued feeding her. An hour later, the vegetables from half an acre were all fed. Only then did Hua Zin's yin qi depletion finally cease. Her already pale complexion grew paler, and her gaze toward the Hell Soul Bell was filled with fear. Covering her mouth tight, she dared not utter more. Jiang Fan dared not ask further. If he continued questioning, it might implicate himself too. Truly picked up a heaven-defying object here. Jiang Fan marveled repeatedly. Hua Zin's eyes were so envious they turned red. I've given up searching for it over the years. Thought it was lost in Hell Realm. Who knew it would be in your hands? Haven't told me yet, how did you get the Hell Soul Bell? It surely must have been through countless perils, narrowly escaping death to obtain it, right? This bell couldn't possibly appear in a safe place. Fan touched his nose and said, I'd better not say. He almost got Hua Zin killed, feeling a bit guilty inside, and truly couldn't bear to hit her with more disappointment. Yet Hua Zin gritted her teeth slightly and said, just say it, let me give up on it. I really want to know where on earth is that bell hidden. No matter how hard I think, I can't find it. I've searched the 10th layer thoroughly, except for the Forbidden Land and the lairs of a few incredibly powerful beasts. Jiang Fan coughed dryly and said, all right. You insisted on asking. Don't blame me then. This bell came about like this. He told her the events of that day exactly as they were. Hua Zin listened. She was stunned in place. Are you saying this Hell Soul Bell is in the stomach of a one-aperture hell creature? And the reason you got it is because you took my tiger talisman Yin Marrow and it submitted to you, obediently gave you the Hell Soul Bell. Jiang Fan nodded. Yes, Hua Zin said, dumbfounded. So if you hadn't stolen my tiger talisman Yin Marrow, it would have submitted to me and handed the bell over. Jiang Fan cleared his throat. It should have. Hua Zin clenched her fists tightly, hair standing on end, smacking the ghost soul crystal fiercely. In other words, you stole the bell that should have been mine? Jiang Fan touched his nose. Don't speak so distant. We're family now. Why quarrel over trivial things? Hua Zin screamed in frustration. Jiang Fan, you dog! Before her voice could break his eardrums, Jiang Fan swiped a finger across the crystal ghost, manually muted her, then looked at the double-headed hellhound and said, see what you've done. Made her so angry? The double-headed hellhound seemed to understand Jiang Fan's words and widened its eyes. Wait, wasn't she scolding you? Jiang Fan frowned and said, didn't you hear her say dog? If not you, then who else? The two heads of the double-headed hellhound exchanged a glance and started pondering. Seems like they were indeed being scolded. After all, the hellhound is also a dog. Ding ding dang, Jiang Fan shook the Hell Soul Bell again. The double-headed hellhound immediately lay on the ground, stuck its tongue out and wagged its tail, as if recognizing its master. No connection to its previously fierce and terrifying appearance at all. Jiang Fan couldn't help but smile slightly. In light of this, traversing the 10th layer shouldn't be a problem at all. Riding the double-headed hellhound should save a lot of trouble, right? Of course, before leaving, he also cleaned out the remaining half-acre of the vegetable garden. Not a single plant left. Then he leapt onto the back of the double-headed hellhound. It showed no resistance at all, instead barked twice happily. "Keoj, come on up." Zia Keoj jumped and landed beside Jiang Fan. With a sweet smile, she said, "Congratulations, Master Uncle, you've acquired another precious artifact." Jiang Fan teased, "You know too many of Master Uncle's secrets. Master Uncle wants to silence you." Zia Keoj covered her mouth with a laugh. "What can I do then? There's no one here. Shouting at the top of my lungs won't make anyone hear. I'll just have to let Master Uncle." The sentence wasn't finished, and she realized it was inappropriate. Quickly she turned away, looking elsewhere with a hint of redness on her cheeks. Jiang Fan also found it odd. Almost sounded like he'd do this or that to Zia Keoj. He coughed and said, "Hey dog, go in that direction." The double-headed hellhound immediately stood up and sped off towards the array. Meanwhile, Forbidden Land. The old woman stood amidst the ruins beneath the sky's gap. Her finger lightly brushed a stone. At her fingertip appeared a thread of lightly golden flowing blood, her aged face full of icy coldness. "You all actually caused the death of young master." Thud. Zing fell to the ground in panic, sweat pouring from his forehead. Unable to even conceive what kind of being was the young master, addressed by the Asura king before him. "Why, Your Excellency, it was that human named Jiang Fan who deliberately blew up the black crystal. I'll take you to find him for revenge." The old woman looked upwards, quietly watching the sky, then closed her eyes. Moments later, upon reopening them, the killing intent subsided, peace returned. Her voice was exceptionally calm. "No need. Who caused the explosion doesn't matter anymore. Because today everyone who came here must die. Considering you're part of my Asura clan, I'll spare your life. In the future, don't come here again." Zing was overwhelmed with joy. He kowtowed repeatedly. "Yes, senior." When he raised his head again, the old woman had vanished without a trace. She must have gone to seek vengeance for the young master. Zing wiped the sweat off his forehead. "Little People Clan, you should have obediently been my slaves. Now look, you angered the most forbidden presence of the 10th layer. All of you must die? Ha ha ha." He left the Forbidden Land laughing. Such was Jiang Fan, riding the hound all the way towards the array, encountering several hell creature attacks along the way. But they sensed the double-headed hellhound's might and abandoned the idea. "Truly a good dog." Jiang Fan couldn't help but praise. With this dog, traversing the 10th layer was indeed free of worries. Woof woof woof, yet suddenly, a dog barking sound arose in the distance. The double-headed hellhound beneath him sniffed and immediately ran over. Before reaching, dust and smoke rolled, vibrations incessant. Blood-red beams shot by double-headed hellhounds crisscrossed. A dozen double-headed hellhounds were besieging an enormous beast, entirely engulfed in blood-red flames. When they arrived, the giant beast, with power reaching the 3 apertures' nascent soul, had already fallen with a crash. Looking closely, the beast resembled a wild pig and was a hell creature, its entire body ablaze with blood-red flames. Jiang Fan recognized it as Asura karmic fire. The double-headed hound beneath him appeared to have some vendetta against the massive wild pig. It dashed forward, fiercely bit down on its carcass, tearing its belly apart. Jiang Fan looked puzzled. The double-headed hound raised its head, muttering indistinct sounds. Sadly, Jiang Fan couldn't understand. "Master, it's saying that this wild pig betrayed its companions, led to it being captured by human monks. They've been searching for this wild pig to take revenge." Ah, Jiang Fan realized. Seeing the Asura karmic fire on the wild pig, he immediately understood where Dharmasil Vajra acquired the Asura karmic fire. Turns out, this wild pig used a portion of Asura karmic fire to hire Dharmasil Vajra against the double-headed hellhounds. Yet Jiang Fan quickly realized something was wrong. "Little Killin, how do you understand what they're saying?" Little Killin poked its head out, holding the ghost soul crystal, transmitting in Jiang Fan's mind. "This sister taught me," said its hell language. Oh, hell language, what? Hell language, the inscriptions on the bronze artifact he painstakingly sought. Zin actually knew it. Zin, whose hair was disheveled and who was seething with anger, he said awkwardly, "Sister Zin, so you are proficient in human clan, demon race, and hell language. Why didn't you mention it earlier? Your younger brother is eager to learn and progress. Could you also teach me?" though she had muted herself, but watching her mouth movements, it was clear that her furious words were not pleasant. There's plenty of time in the future. We can sit down and talk at length some other day." What answered him was the ghost soul crystal humming as it was being pounded, and countless unheard murmurs of "shameless" that Jiang Fan couldn't hear. Woof, at this moment, a whimper came from the pack of dogs. The double-headed hellhound below him walked over. It found a companion whose neck had been bitten off by a boar, bleeding profusely. Although its tail was still wagging slightly, it was at the end of its strength. A pack of double-headed hellhounds surrounded it, whimpering incessantly. The double-headed hellhound beneath him also lowered its head, its body trembling with sorrow. Jiang Fan sighed slightly. He jumped down off the dog's back. His presence made the other double-headed hellhounds instantly become fiercely aggressive. Jiang Fan took out the Hell Soul Bell and shook it. The double-headed hellhounds immediately calmed down and wagged their tails at Jiang Fan. They made humming noises, seemingly happy at Jiang Fan's arrival and also sad for their lost companion. Jiang Fan walked up to the dying double-headed hellhound. He took out 2 revitalizing pills and stuffed one into each dog's mouth. Soon, the double-headed hellhound, on its last legs, gradually regained its sparkle in its eyes. The surrounding double-headed hellhounds immediately barked joyfully. Several even wagged their tails continuously at Jiang Fan. Gulp! At this time, a double-headed hellhound stirred inside the boar's gut. Finally, it fetched a blood-red orb, the size of a human head, and placed it in front of Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan immediately sensed the karmic fire of Asura permeating it. It was more than 10 times stronger than the one he had refined before. Jiang Fan was overjoyed. With this, the first layer of the Cayenne Land True Fire technique could progress from small success to great success. "Thank you," Jiang Fan cupped his hands in gratitude. He grabbed the orb and jumped onto the dog's back, promptly making use of the time to absorb the karmic fire of Asura contained in it. The double-headed hellhound below him joyously howled up to the sky. Of the surrounding double-headed hellhounds, one stayed back to care for the injured one. The rest accompanied him to escort Jiang Fan to the transmission array, a mountain 100 miles from the transmission array. Cayenne Land Fairy shot out azure blue flames from her palm, toppling a massive black scorpion brimming with fierce aura to the ground. She had a slight smile on her face. "Junior brother Tianju, this 10th layer isn't so difficult, right? The 3 of us, in less than a day, have successfully opened up an area spanning 10 miles. Our merit has already far exceeded 100,000, right?" The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master also repelled a hell creature that didn't even have a nascent soul. He furrowed his brows slightly. Looking at the mountain underfoot, he said, "This mountain is named Black Reef. Once inhabited by a 5-aperture hell creature, strangely it is nowhere to be found today. Moreover, the hell creatures along the way are very sparse, not even a third of the initial number." Yun Huo frowned and said, "Could it be like the black crystal on the 9th layer, also affected by the connecting sky-black pillar?" The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master pondered. "The reason is unknown. But that's just as well. We can hasten our exploration of the surrounding area to try to find traces of the ancient saint." Just after he finished speaking, a cold voice echoed, "You don't have to look anymore." Zing coldly looked at the trio before him. He was slightly puzzled. The Asura King didn't say that he wanted to wipe out everyone who came in. Why hasn't the Asura King arrived when I'm already here at the transmission array? However, that's just as well. He squinted his eyes and evaluated the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master. "You can also use Thunder Dao Divine Power. Come with me, I'll take you to a place." The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master looked at the pair of sharp horns atop the other's head, his expression stern. "Asura clan? It's been over 1,000 years, yet there's still a living one." Cayenne Land Fairy and Yun Hu's expressions changed subtly, quietly positioning themselves to the sides of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master. "Senior brother Yun Huo, this Asura alien race is here for junior brother Tianju. You take him and leave first. I'll cover your rear." This wasn't said by Yun Huo, but by Cayenne Land Fairy, who was usually the most harsh towards the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master paused for a moment, clearly surprised as well, and said, "Senior sister Cayenne Land, you—" Cayenne Land Fairy said with no emotion, "Enough talk, go quickly." Yun Huo, the one who understood the most, sighed gently and said, "Junior brother Tianju, you were too focused on the martial path back then. You missed out on some people." The great resentment Cayenne Land Fairy harbors towards Yun Tianju was never about the Pavilion Master position. The position was a shackle. Cayenne Land Fairy wasn't unaware. The reason for her irrational behavior was merely an excuse to vent her long-held grudge. Once, Cayenne Land Fairy's feelings for junior brother Yun Tianju were clear even to an observer like Yun Huo. Unfortunately, Yun Tianju was solely focused on the martial path. He never picked up on the numerous hints from Cayenne Land Fairy. For a time, Cayenne Land Fairy felt that Yun Tianju, being highly talented, disregarded her. Thus it fostered resentment in her heart. These years, she diligently trained, always wanting to surpass him in martial arts. And now she has finally surpassed him, yet all she can do is make a few sarcastic remarks. Now seeing Yun Tianju in trouble, she is more anxious than anyone. "Say one more word and I'll burn your tongue off. Go quickly." Cayenne Land Fairy stomped her foot, glaring in embarrassment and annoyance at the talkative Yun Huo. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master was briefly taken aback, then offered a bitter smile. "Is that so? Then I have really missed out." He didn't leave. Instead, he mustered all his nascent soul power and took out a palm-sized pavilion. It was divided into 10 layers in total. The bottom 10 layers were broken. Originally, there should be more below, but it was destroyed violently by some force. Although I can control only a small portion of the 10th layer, it can still boost combat power somewhat. It's rare that the 3 senior and junior brothers and sisters have reunited at the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Why don't we join forces in battle? Seeing the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master bring out this pavilion, Cayenne Land Fairy no longer tried to persuade. With blue flames swirling in her palm, she was the first to charge. "Dare to harm my junior brother, first see if I agree." Yun Huo followed closely, his body surging with azure flames. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master sent out seal techniques towards the pavilion. Space barriers suddenly appeared, locking Zing in place, restricting his movements. Zing chuckled, gazing at the broken pavilion. "I wondered who it was. Turns out it's this generation's Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master. Quite coincidentally, I also have something quite similar to yours." He took out a fragment of the base of a building. From the break, it seemed, it could perfectly connect with the one in the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master's hand. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master's expression changed. "You are the 7th alien race who escaped hundreds of years ago." This pavilion was a magic artifact that controlled the space barriers of the underworld. It was personally crafted by an ancient saint. Hundreds of years ago, the then Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master fortuitously encountered a mysterious strong Usura clan member on the 8th layer and was sneak attacked. Not only did he suffer serious injuries, but this magic artifact was damaged and a piece was snatched by the adversary. Seeing the adversary produce this item, the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master immediately discerned his identity. Looking at Yun Huo and Cayenne Land Fairy pressing forward, his expression changed and he shouted, "Come back! The magic artifact he holds can better control the 10th layer's barrier." Update: his only has a small part of the magic artifact. Zing, however, controlled most of the 10th level, as soon as the words were spoken. Zing sneered and casually activated the damaged pavilion in his palm. In the next instant, the space barrier sealed around him vanished instantly. In its place, dozens of space barriers sealed Yun Huo. Zing grinned ferociously and spat out a bloody chain, shooting towards Cayenne Land Fairy. The absolute difference in cultivation made their strengths utterly incomparable. After a single confrontation, the blue lotus flying out from Cayenne Land Fairy's palm was shattered by the blood-colored chain. The chain didn't stop, piercing through Cayenne Land Fairy's shoulder brutally. Cayenne Land Fairy groaned in pain and immediately gathered flames in her palm, cutting the chain. But just in this instant, she was shocked to realize she had lost as much as a tenth of her essence blood. Waves of weakness surged up. Zing licked his lips with satisfaction. After all, the essence blood of a human clan nascent soul realm is delicious. Much better than those little Jiden ones. The hideous wound on his abdomen rapidly healed under the nurture of the essence blood. Even the exploded eyeball regrew at a bizarre speed. This is the characteristic of the bloodthirsty Shura clan. As long as there's enough essence blood, no matter how severe the injury, it can recover. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master's face was solemn and said, "You all return. Don't make unnecessary sacrifices." If this alien from the Usura clan were just a 3 apertures, the 3 of them combined would still have the power to battle. But he holds the control over the space barriers of the 10th level world. How troublesome he is has just been witnessed. He can separate the three at any moment and defeat them individually. The outcome of forcing a battle is foreseeable. Yun-Hu struggled to shatter many space barriers and returned to the side of the heavenly mechanism pavilion master with a solemn expression. He looked towards Cayenne Land Fairy, whose face was slightly pale and her aura had weakened considerably, feeling extremely heavy-hearted. "Don't hesitate, hurry and go," the heavenly mechanism pavilion master said decisively. Yun-Hu and Cayenne Land Fairy exchanged a glance, their hearts still in turmoil. "Heh, earlier if you wanted to leave, maybe there was a chance. But after tasting the delicious blood, I no longer want to let you go." Zing smiled playfully. Dense space barriers appeared behind them. Just breaking through them would take a considerable amount of time. There's simply no time to return to the transmission array. Cayenne Land Fairy bit her lip and said, "It seems we have no choice. Get closer to each other, reduce the chances of being separated. If he wants to drink our blood, he better be prepared to lose his teeth." The heavenly mechanism pavilion master's eyes were deeply serious. At this point, they can only fight with their backs to the wall. Woof, woof, woof at this moment. At the ends of the earth, dust billowed and dozens of earth-shattering barks approached. Zing couldn't help but laugh. "It's the double-headed hellhounds. I say you all are truly unlucky. When it rains, it pours. Facing just me is bad enough, and now a pack of double-headed hellhounds." Cayenne Land Fairy's already pale face turned even whiter, a bitter smile at the corner of her mouth. Completely losing the will to fight. How can they possibly fight on? She looked at the equally bitter expression of the heavenly mechanism pavilion master, her lips slightly pursed. "Yun Tianzhu, I guess you've doomed me. If you had given me the true spirit blood earlier, wouldn't it have been better?" The heavenly mechanism pavilion master cupped his hands and said, "It's junior brother who's sorry. Dragged you and senior brother into this." Cayenne Land Fairy retorted, "Then how do you plan to compensate me?" Compensation. The heavenly mechanism pavilion master looked at the approaching mass of fiercely intimidating double-headed hellhounds, each of them exuding boundless ferocity, all bloodthirsty beyond compare. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Our lives are almost gone. What compensation can you ask for?" Cayenne Land Fairy's red lips slightly curved, stepping over. In the astonished gaze of the heavenly mechanism pavilion master, she hooked his neck with a hand, initiatively kissed him, the regret of 20 years ago made up. A faint smile appeared on Cayenne Land Fairy's usually stern face, seeing the heavenly mechanism pavilion master still in a daze. And hearing the thunderous roar right behind her, she kissed up again. In her heart, she was ready for a farewell to death. "Cayenne Land Pavilion Master, what are you doing?" This voice. Cayenne Land Fairy separated her lips, quickly followed the voice to look. She saw among the double-headed hellhounds, each as majestic as a mountain, on the head of the foremost double-headed hellhound. There was a man and a woman standing. The man was precisely the little rascal who won away her Cayenne Land True Fire technique. At this moment, he was staring at herself, and the heavenly mechanism pavilion master embracing each other with a shocked expression. Cayenne Land Fairy was startled, quickly released the heavenly mechanism pavilion master and said, "Don't misunderstand." Jiang Fan had a bewildered expression. "No, isn't Cayenne Land Fairy supposed to be at odds with the pavilion master? Why is she here at the 10th level, proactively throwing herself into the pavilion master's arms, even kissing him actively?" He looked towards the heavenly mechanism pavilion master's handsome face and graceful demeanor, suddenly understood something, gave a thumbs up and said, "The pavilion master is indeed formidable. I am ashamed in comparison." He and concubine Yanksia had gone through a long period of adjustment before finally coming together. The pavilion master only needed to visit the underworld once. The pavilion master is truly the pavilion master. There's still much for him to learn. The heavenly mechanism pavilion master then reacted, feeling annoyed yet amused. Had been mocked by his disciple. He looked towards Jiang Fan, who stood among the group of double-headed hellhounds, and said in astonishment, "Jiang Fan, you and these double-headed hellhounds." Jiang Fan patted the dog's head beneath him and said, "These are all my brothers." The double-headed hellhound under him raised its head and cooperatively barked twice. Upon hearing this, the heavenly mechanism pavilion master's eyes brightened. Cayenne Land Fairy and Yun-Hu were secretly excited as well, although they didn't know how Jiang Fan managed to control these fierce double-headed hellhounds. They were saved. In contrast, Zing, the latter, had long lost his initial arrogance. His face had become quite unsightly. "Brat!" Zing couldn't believe it. "How could you possibly gain the acceptance of these double-headed hellhounds?" This group of double-headed hellhounds was quite ferocious even in the Hell Realm. As an Usura of the Hell Realm, he couldn't claim to gain their acceptance, could only make them less hostile. But Jiang Fan, want to know? Jiang Fan glanced at Cayenne Land Fairy's pale complexion, instantly understood what Zing had done. His eyes were filled with coldness. I'll burn paper to tell you. Rip him apart. Jiang Fan pointed at Zing from afar. A group of double-headed hellhounds immediately revealed their fierce lights and charged up, roaring. Zing felt his scalp tingle and angrily shouted, Jiang Fan, you little jinx! He was extremely aggrieved. When he encountered Jiang Fan, he thought he found a talent for Thunder Dao divine power. Instead, he was tricked into the 10th level Forbidden Land. Even encountered the Usura King, almost losing his life. Fine, all that passed. He came out for some adventure to find someone to absorb blood. That should have nothing to do with Jiang Fan, right? This little brat came out again. Even unleashed the dogs on him. Is there anyone who bullies people like this? Jiang Fan snorted and said, You're not even a dying leech. Dared to suck even our pavilion master's wife's blood. Today I'm tearing you apart. Cayenne Land Fairy blushed, scolding angrily. Who is your pavilion master's wife? Stop shouting nonsense. She then glared at Zing in annoyance. It's all your damned vampire fault. She gathered flames in both palms and leapt to attack. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master and Yun Huo also simultaneously took action. Over 20 double-headed hellhounds crazily bit down. Even with the strength of the 3 Aperture's nascent soul, Zing couldn't withstand such a gang beating. Updates in just a moment. Several pieces of flesh were torn from him, causing him to scream in agony. Get away from me! He launched his fists together, blasting a double-headed hellhound that was biting him. He leaped into the air to escape. 5 magnetic divine light! Jiang Fan, watching from the side, was well prepared. He summoned a divine light to encase it. Zing, who had just leaped into the air, had a small portion of his power sealed and his body paused. Taking advantage of this moment, a double-headed hellhound leaped up and slapped him down from the sky with its paw. The other double-headed hellhounds immediately pounced and started biting wildly. Ah! Jiang Fan! Zing screamed and cursed simultaneously. Not long after, a squelching sound was heard. Zing's body was torn to shreds. A formidable warrior of the 3 Aperture's nascent soul level was torn apart by a pack of dogs. Whoosh, a transparent blood-red soul flew up into the sky. It was Zing's soul. He glared angrily at Jiang Fan and shouted, You little brat! Destroyed my physical body, hindered my cultivation. I swear by the gods of hell I will. Suddenly, he realized Jiang Fan looked quite delighted. He wasn't intimidated at all. Annoyed, he said, Take me seriously? What are you laughing at? At that moment, Jiang Fan was overjoyed. He was worried about acquiring a nascent soul realm soul. He decisively summoned the soul-suppressing Buddha beads and threw them out. Zing's expression changed drastically. You little brat trying to capture my soul? Dream on! Whoosh, his soul directly vanished into the void. The soul-suppressing Buddha beads missed their target. Jiang Fan slapped his thigh in frustration. He actually escaped. After being frustrated for a moment, he let out a long sigh. Forget it, after all, it's 3 orifice nascent soul level, fundamentally different from 1 orifice nascent soul. Catching him would have been lucky, missing him is normal. At this moment, a double-headed hellhound carried an arm to Jiang Fan. Upon closer inspection, the palm held a broken piece of a magic artifact. He pried it from the palm. What is this? The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master took out his own magic artifact and sighed. It's a fragment of a magic artifact that was stolen by this Usura alien race centuries ago. Oh, Jiang Fan immediately descended and handed the fragment to the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master, saying, Return it to its rightful owner. The Pavilion Master was embarrassed to take it, saying, This is your spoil of war. Jiang Fan shoved it into the Pavilion Master's hand, saying, You have bestowed me countless favors and helped me immensely. Don't talk about these things with me. The Pavilion Master hesitated for a moment, then said, All right then, I'll accept it. By the way, how did you manage to return from the depths of the 10th layer? Jiang Fan replied, It's a long story. Let's talk while we travel. It's not safe to stay long in this 10th layer. Thinking of that steaming cup of tea, Jiang Fan shivered internally. This cursed place, he wouldn't dare return to it again. The 3 of them immediately headed towards the transmission array. Upon learning, Jiang Fan was chased by Zing and ended up in the 10th layer Forbidden Land. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master was greatly shocked, his eyes brimming with astonished light. Did you see the ancient saint? For 1,000 years, the heavenly mechanism pavilion had dreamed of finding the ancient saint. But the depths of the 10th layer were inaccessible by human means. Jiang Fan was the only one to reach the center of the 10th layer, and he came out alive. Moreover, he even saw a Wugu altar. It sounded like the resting place of an ancient saint. Jiang Fan's gaze slightly darkened, and he said, "I really hope that wasn't an ancient saint." Recalling the sight of thousands of corpses worshipping, a deep unease surged within him. If it were an ancient saint, they must be a figure steeped in bloodshed, extremely dangerous. The pavilion master's smile froze slightly. "Why do you say that?" As Jiang Fan was about to explain what he had seen, the double-headed hellhound beneath him suddenly stopped. The others too halted, looking around vigilantly. As if they sensed a powerful danger, they whimpered lowly, shivering and lying on the ground, not daring to move. As if encountering an extremely terrifying presence. Jiang Fan's expression grew solemn as he scanned his surroundings. But there was nothing in sight. Suddenly, a massive beast, as black as ink, stretching for thousands of feet long, resembling an earthworm but covered with scales and bearing huge wings, flew over their heads. The apocalyptic aura it emitted made Jiang Fan's heart race uncontrollably. The pavilion master's pupils contracted violently. The king of hell creatures in the 10th layer. Abyss evil worm. A 9 acupoints hell creature. Kyan Land Fairy and Yun Huo trembled all over, their eyes overflowing with undeniable fear. Such a being. In Taikang state, it's an existence capable of wiping out the continent. Even more heart-stopping for them was. The abyss evil worm circled the sky half around and slowly descended in front of them. It came straight at them. Jiang Fan's heart sunk to the bottom. How could they possibly contend with such an entity? One casual swipe, and this pack of double-headed hellhounds along with themselves would be turned to ashes. All 4 didn't dare to breathe. Staring at the terrifying abyss evil worm before them, they didn't dare to make any movement. Thump thump in this moment of intense tension. Suddenly, a series of footsteps approached, with focused eyes. The 4 faces altered dramatically again. On the back of the abyss evil worm, an old woman in a gray robe walked off slowly. She appeared aged, her attire outdated, without a trace of martial artist's aura. If found in a mortal city, one could easily mistake her for an ordinary old lady. However, as she approached, the abyss demon worm lowered its head. The double-headed hellhounds beneath them buried their heads between their legs, eyes fixed on the ground. They didn't even dare to steal a glance at the old lady. Thump thump, apart from the old woman's footsteps. Jiang Fan could even hear the heartbeat of the other 3, including the pavilion master. The world seemed to have plunged into deathly silence at that moment, because they all realized the nature of the entity before them. Divinity transformation, legendary divinity transformation realm. The old woman's pace was slow, yet they wished it could slow even more. The pavilion master cupped his hands and said, "Senior, we mean no disturbance." An invisible force weighed down. He could hardly speak again. His apology was clearly unwelcome to the old woman. Jiang Fan's mind was running wild. Everything from techniques to magical treasures seemed pale and ineffectual. "Don't run." In that moment, a series of familiar footsteps came. Jiang Fan shuddered slightly. Su Yoren, how could it be her? He was in a turmoil. If he were to fall here, so be it. Why did Su Yoren have to come too? Yoren was chasing a small alien creature. She saw from afar the mighty giant shadow, thousands of feet tall, like a mountain range. How could she dare to let the silver-horned little alien run over there? However, the fully recovered silver-horned little alien moved extremely fast, jumping out of her arms to this place in just a dozen breaths. It wasn't much slower than a nascent soul. The old woman sensed something. Turning her head, a trace of excitement appeared on her aged cheeks. With a flash, she instantaneously moved in front of the silver-horned little alien, opened her arms, and immediately held it in her embrace. "Young master, I thought you were dead." The joy of regaining what was lost made even her, at the divinity transformation realm, shed tears of joy, her eyes moist with old tears. The silver-horned little alien nuzzled in her arms, chirping adorably, seemingly very affectionate and happy. Good, okay, as long as you're fine. I almost prepared to go with you." The old woman, holding the silver-horned little alien, wiped away her tears. At this moment, she noticed there were still unhealed wounds on the silver-horned little alien, and as her heart ached, a murderous intent reappeared in her eyes. She glared coldly at Jiang Fan and the others. "I never minded how you humans messed around in the underworld before. But you have been too reckless. You even dared to hurt our young master. This time it was lucky and narrowly escaped death, but what if it wasn't lucky? Previously, I was too tolerant. From now on, any human that comes to the 10th layer I will kill. Starting with you, upon hearing the murderous intent from the other side. Jiang Fan and the others' hearts sank to the bottom. For such an existence to erase them, it would be all too easy. Jiang Fan? Su Yoren ran all the way over. Realizing that the silver-horned little alien was affectionate with the old woman, she initially intended to quickly retreat. But with a glance, she discovered Jiang Fan was also present. Moreover, the old woman intended to kill Jiang Fan. She hurried over and stood in front of Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan kept winking at her, telling her not to come, to hurry and leave. But she came anyway. "Why are you here?" Jiang Fan's mouth was full of bitterness. "Can't you see the situation? 3 nascent souls and beyond, unable to move, it should be clear how dangerous their situation was." "I know, I can see it." Su Yoren glanced at the old woman. Even if she didn't understand her ferocity, how could she not comprehend Jiang Fan's situation with that monstrous beast thousands of feet tall? "I just can't watch you die in front of me. My world only has you. If you die, living becomes meaningless for me." She stepped forward and held Jiang Fan's arm, facing the endless murderous intent of the old woman together, living not in the same bed but dying in the same grave. Jiang Fan held her hand, feeling a sense of guilt rise within him. They had originally agreed to get married in a month. Now more than half a year had passed, and she was still a fiancée, not a wife. "I'm sorry to have implicated you," Jiang Fan whispered. Su Yoren gently leaned on his shoulder and said, "Husband, you have also worked hard." Xianxia, watching the scene unfold, suddenly felt a deep sense of respect in her heart. Perhaps Su Yoren didn't possess noteworthy strength, or provide Jiang Fan with the same companionship as Liu Qingxian and others did. But she deserved to always hold the most important place in Jiang Fan's heart. At this, she silently took out a jade box. Inside were 2 white feathers exuding a sacred aura. These were life-saving items she acquired recently, one to protect one person. She planned to give them to her uncle and Su Yoren, hoping they could live together until old age and witness all seasons of life together. Just as she was about to speak, the silver-horned little alien suddenly pointed at Su Yoren, chirping something. The old woman's expression changed slightly. "You say she saved you?" The silver-horned little alien nodded, then ran and jumped into Su Yoren's arms. Su Yoren felt a mix of emotions. She had saved the little alien, but its kin wanted to kill her husband. "Go back!" Su Yoren placed it on the ground again, her expression cold. The tenderness from before was gone. The silver-horned little alien sorrowfully ran back into the old woman's arms, seeming to be complaining about something. The old woman listened awkwardly, saying, all right, I won't kill them, I won't kill them." "Fine, you all can leave. From now on, don't come to the 10th layer, and especially don't step into the area I've marked as forbidden land." Everyone immediately felt a sense of relief. Their hearts, tensed to the point of breaking, finally found release. Even the 3 nascent souls had cold sweat running down their backs. A cold wind blew, and the 3 of them felt a shiver all over. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master gratefully clasped hands towards Su Yoren. "Thank you." Kyan Land Fairy and Yun Huo also looked grateful. If not for Su Yoren's life-saving grace for their young master, they would surely be dead. Xianxia also put away the jade box and said, "Thank you, junior sister Su." Jiang Fan was even more surprised. Looking at Su Yoren beside him, he became slightly dazed. This was the most dangerous moment of his life, bar none. Yet it was Su Yoren, who was increasingly behind him on the martial path, who saved him. A sense of fate overwhelmed Jiang Fan with mixed emotions. "Thank you, Yoren." Su Yoren felt an unprecedented sense of fulfillment. She had finally helped her husband. She smiled gently. Turning her gaze to the silver-horned little alien, she said, "Thank you, little one. Until we meet again." She waved and then walked away with Jiang Fan. The silver-horned little alien watched Su Yoren with reluctance. When it was at its weakest, it was Su Yoren who tenderly cared for it. This feeling was like a mother's care, but its mother was long gone. It looked up and chirped something to the old woman. The old woman was surprised. "You want her to stay? She's human. It's hard for her to survive in such a yin-chi-laden place." The silver-horned little alien whimpered and said something else. The old woman, looking troubled, said, "There is a way using the remnants left by the master. It should be doable. As the young master, if you want it, this old servant cannot oppose. But it also depends on whether she is willing. If you force her to stay, how can she accompany you well if she's unhappy?" The silver-horned little alien urged a few more times. The old woman was helpless. She had to call out to Su Yoren, "Young lady." Su Yoren turned around and politely bowed slightly. "What advice does the senior have?" The old woman regarded Su Yoren. Her demeanor was gentle, her eyes soft, and her speech very polite. Among the human race, she should have received good upbringing from a young age. "Our young master hopes you can stay here and accompany it." Upon hearing this, Su Yoren showed a troubled expression. How could she possibly leave Jiang Fan behind to accompany an alien baby she met by chance? Though it was cute and very grateful, and she quite liked it. But it couldn't compare to Jiang Fan at all. However, she feared refusing would anger the old woman and implicate Jiang Fan. "I understand you're in a difficult position, but I wouldn't have you accompany our young master for nothing. If you stay, you can receive a portion of the heritage left by the old master." The old woman spoke with a hint of envy. She had no fate with the master's things. Yet the young master wanted to give it to a little human girl. Yoren was puzzled about the elderly woman, the silver-horned little alien, and the so-called old master. She really had no clear concept. The old woman chuckled and said, "What an innocent young girl. Let me introduce myself. I am one of the 10 servants under the old master, Xianxia King. With such a realm in your human clan, I would be called a venerate." The 3 nascent soul experts of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion felt a sudden jolt in their hearts. Although they had some guesses about the old woman's identity, hearing her confirm it with her own mouth still shocked them deeply. The divinity transformation realm has always been an elusive existence. The vast majority of nascent soul experts may not have the chance to see one up close in their lifetime. Now, they actually saw one for real. After arriving at the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, Su Yoren had gained some understanding of the cultivation system of martial artists. She naturally understood what kind of person could be called a venerate. With deep respect, she gave another salute. "Senior," Xianxia King said kindly, "don't be fooled by how old I am now. Once in the Hell Realm, many people called me the blood-handed female slaughter, and my old master was a figure who dominated an era. If you can receive a part of her legacy, your future achievements will surpass mine." The air suddenly went silent. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion master couldn't help but be shocked to his core. If he understood correctly, they planned to cultivate Su Yoren into a divinity transformation. Cayenne Land Fairy bit her teeth slightly. Having heard that some people have extraordinarily good fates, loved by the heavens, able to encounter unimaginable fortunes. But at most, they can only encounter great opportunities to break through from mediocrity to nascent soul. Compared to Su Yoren, standing before them, it's nothing. My God, this woman just saved a young master of the Usura clan and she soared to the sky. No, she became divine in one step. This is simply too enviable. Yun Hu had a bitter face, feeling that his Tao heart was somewhat collapsing. All his lifelong efforts couldn't compare to Su Yoren's single opportunity. Divinity transformation. That was a realm he could never hope to reach in his lifetime. Seeing with his own eyes, a tremendous opportunity descends upon someone else. This feeling, truly unbearable. However, the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion master could still find solace that Su Yoren originated from his Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. The remaining 2 felt genuinely uncomfortable. Su Yoren was also frightened and looked at Jiang Fan for guidance. "Fan, what do you think we should do?" Jiang Fan was also shaken. Divinity transformation. He himself hadn't even reached the nascent soul realm, and divinity transformation was something he didn't dare to dream of. But Su Yoren achieved it directly. Of course, it would still take a lot of time. Jiang Fan suppressed his turbulent heart spirit and asked, "Senior Ayu, can your words be fulfilled? How long will Yoren stay? Will she be forced to change her human clan identity, acknowledge a master as a servant, or go to dangerous places and the like?" Xianxia King looked at Jiang Fan, nodded slightly, and said, "No wonder Miss Su consulted your opinion. Besides respecting you as her husband, you are indeed thoughtful. To think of so many issues in an instant, with just a few words I can't explain clearly. Come with me, let me show you some things, and you will get your answers." She carried the silver-horned little alien and stepped onto the abyss evil worm. "Come on up. Pavilion Master of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, you come too. Some things should be known to the current generation of the human clan." The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion master's heart stirred, and so, everyone followed and stepped onto this 9-orifice-level hell creature. Its wings whistled. In just 1 cup of tea's time, this several thousand Zhanglong abyss evil worm spanned the vast 10th layer, appearing at the deepest part. It was a place even deeper than the Forbidden Land. A gigantic, pitch-black abyss appeared in everyone's eyes. In the abyss, black arcs of danger occasionally splashed out. Horrific low growls, no weaker than those of the abyss evil worm, emanated from below the abyss, making everyone extremely uneasy. The pavilion master of the heavenly mechanism pavilion looked at the enormous abyss and said solemnly, "Senior Ayu, what's below here?" He had already guessed what this place was. Xianxia King said indifferently, "The place you seek, where the ancient saint is located. Do you dare to go down?" The heavenly mechanism pavilion master felt cold sweat bead on his forehead. This was not a place their nascent soul realm could enter. Once inside, certain death awaits, let alone finding any ancient saint. But recalling the 1,000-year mission of the heavenly mechanism pavilion right in front of him, he bit his teeth slightly and had the impulse to jump down. Who would have thought? Xianxia King said, "Moreover, I don't guarantee there is an ancient saint below. I can only assure you the 10th layer contains no ancient saint you are searching for. If it existed, it could only be in the next layer or even an unknown lower layer." Upon hearing, the pavilion master of the heavenly mechanism pavilion smiled bitterly. A deep sense of powerlessness filled his heart. Even at the most glorious times of the heavenly mechanism pavilion, the 10th layer was never fully explored, let alone the 11th layer. Besides, the 11th layer might not even have it. Even the existence of the ancient saint is unknown. The belief that sustained him for many years was about to collapse at this moment. Xianxia King said, "I wanted to tell you long ago not to make pointless efforts. Unless the divinity transformation realm comes, otherwise all efforts are in vain. However, even if a divinity transformation realm comes, if they go down, they may not return safely either." She summoned the pavilion master of the heavenly mechanism pavilion. It was precisely to cut off thoughts of sending more people to the underworld again, so as to prevent the incident where the young master was endangered due to frequent external interventions from happening again. The pavilion master of the heavenly mechanism pavilion staggered and sat on a stone powerlessly. He lowered his head, gazing blankly. Gone was the former ambitious and unruffled self, feeling like a failed scholar rushing to the capital for exams. In an instant, he seemed to have aged significantly. Qian Lan Fairy and Yun Huo looked at him with eyes full of heartache. Silently, they patted his shoulder. Qian Lan Fairy said, "Junior brother Tianzhu, you have done your best. In times when our ancestors held the resources of Taikang State, they envied such prosperous times yet could not reach that step. Now, the heavenly mechanism pavilion is on shaky ground. How could you possibly complete it? Lay down the burden and live for yourself from now on." Yun Huo understood the state of mind of the pavilion master of the heavenly mechanism pavilion. Carrying a lifelong mission, only to discover it is an impossible feat at the end. How could he not feel frustrated? Jiang Fan also showed a trace of pity. This middle-aged man, for the heavenly mechanism pavilion, had given his entire life. He who originally had a promising career ahead chose to guard the heavenly mechanism pavilion tirelessly, sitting for 20 years straight. Now, this is the result he received. He walked to the pavilion master of the heavenly mechanism pavilion and said, "Pavilion master, the disciple once said to inherit the will of predecessors. The words of that day remain valid now. If I hope in my lifetime to join the ranks of venerates, I will personally go below to find an answer for the pavilion master." Su Yoren also came over, holding Jiang Fan's hand, and nodded. "Pavilion master, I will accompany Jiang Fan as well." Xia Keoj glanced at Jiang Fan and said calmly, "So will I." The pavilion master of the heavenly mechanism pavilion lifted his head. Looking at the three young faces, he couldn't help but recall the scene where the old pavilion master called the three senior siblings to his sickbed. The difference is, the old pavilion master was entrusting them with his last wishes. Now it is the three descendants lifting him up to move forward. His eyes grew moist and he slowly stood up. "Good, good. Your generation is stronger than ours. Since all of you have not stopped, how can I stop moving forward?" Xianxia King showed a complex expression. Even she was moved by the persistence of the heavenly mechanism pavilion and said, "Do you all still want to continue meaningless exploration of the underworld?" The pavilion master of the heavenly mechanism pavilion thought for a moment and shook his head slightly. "No, I will close the underworld and seek a new path for the heavenly mechanism pavilion. That is, migrating the entire sect to Taikang State." A word was spoken. Everyone was somewhat surprised. Relocating the entire sect, and relocating to a grand place like Taikang State where dragons and phoenixes compete, that is a very dangerous thing. First of all, whether the disciples of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion are willing to give up the easy mode of exploring the underworld, to gain merit, and choose to follow the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion across the ocean to Taikang State, starting from scratch. Secondly, the good spirit veins of Taikang State have already been occupied by others, and the poor spirit veins do not attract newcomers. Moreover, even if they retreat to a corner, there will be forces both overt and covert wanting to take a bite out of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Besides, there are many unforeseen accidental factors. If not done well, the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion might not hold for long and would therefore disperse. Jiang Fan was surprised for a moment but quickly calmed down. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master doesn't seem like someone who acts on impulse based on fleeting emotions. Unable to restrain himself, he asked, "Pavilion Master, have you planned this for a long time?" The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master had composed himself again and regained some composure. He nodded slightly and said, "I have been preparing for it for 10 years. Our Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion has been exploring for 1,000 years without results. Ultimately, there is only one reason: strength. If our strength were strong enough, the 10th layer would have been explored long ago. Why else would we be stuck at the 10th layer unable to advance? Today's 11th layer further illustrates the problem." Jiang Fan pondered silently. Indeed, it is true. Whatever about the 10th layer being difficult to explore, no outsiders willing to come to assist in exploration, limited resources, disciples not as good as before, etc. These are all superficial. The real reason is strength. The Pavilion Master saw through it long ago and had been preparing for it 10 years ago. Now, seeing the even more dangerous 11th layer, he has made up his mind completely. I have already chosen the location for the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Just waiting to lead the disciples and relocate the entire sect. Ah, the location is already chosen. They really have prepared thoroughly. Cayenne Land Fairy's eyes lit up and she immediately asked, "Where did you choose?" Yun Hu teased, "Right next to our fire worship sect, are you happy with that?" Cayenne Land Fairy blushed and gave him a hard look. "I'll burn your long tongue someday." The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master laughed. "It's a secret for now. When the sect relocates, during the opening ceremony, I hope you, senior brothers and sisters, will graciously attend." Cayenne Land Fairy nodded repeatedly, extremely expectant. "Of course, I will definitely come." Yun Hu also smiled broadly. "Our Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion is finally leaving this continent. As an old disciple, how could I not be there to congratulate?" Jiang Fan was also somewhat expectant. Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion entering Taikang State would mean competing imperceptibly with the divine sect and major teachings. What kind of scene it would be then? It's unknown. Xianxia King nodded slightly. In the future, there won't be people coming to bother frequently. She was naturally very satisfied. The young master, if agreed, Miss Su can also attend the sect opening ceremony. Su Yoren was speechless for a moment. She hadn't even agreed to stay, and they were already arranging her future. Seeming to realize she was being too hasty, Xianxia King smiled. "All right, let's start addressing the concerns you and your husband have." She waved her sleeve. Immediately, a patch of blood-red light appeared above the great abyss. They intertwined, forming a seal. It was precisely the existence of this seal that prevented the creatures from the 11th layer from coming up. The center of the seal, however, was a silver coffin. Inside lay a lifelike corpse in silence. That corpse has been dead for at least a millennium. Yet it still emanated an awe-inspiring aura, more terrifying even than Xianxia King. And it's a corpse. If it were alive, what a terrifying entity it would be. Absolutely an entity that surpasses the divinity transformation realm. This is my old master. Even in death, just the aura can suppress countless hell creatures. Her legacy, forging a divinity transformation realm, isn't it difficult? Xianxia King looked at Jiang Fan and said, "You are worried about changing human clan identity. No need. Unless Miss Su wants to go further and become like my old master, otherwise there is no need to transform into the Asura clan. As for how long to stay, it depends on the mood of the young master and Miss Su. If the young master no longer wishes for companionship, or if Miss Su no longer wishes to stay in the underworld, then separate. Companionship requires both parties to be willing. Otherwise, it's just torture. As for recognizing a master, the young master likes Miss Su not to use her, so rest assured. Regarding her safety, I think staying by my side is much safer than outside. Any more questions?" Jiang Fan slightly relaxed. He had thought through all the aspects that could be considered. Only Su Yoren herself was left. If she is unwilling, Jiang Fan will not force her. Yoren, how about you? Su Yoren nodded her head without hesitation. Yes, I am willing. The opportunity is rare, why should she miss it? Once her strength is accomplished, she can help Jiang Fan. Moreover, she quite liked the silver-horned little alien. Training while playing with it wasn't something hard. On the contrary, isn't this much more relaxed than in the sect? The silver-horned little alien immediately became happy, bouncing in Ayashura King's arms. Ayashura King smiled. Good, then everyone is satisfied. Jiang Fan looked at Su Yoren reluctantly. Yoren, take care. Su Yoren looked deeply affectionate. You should take more care. And take care of Silin, don't let her be neglected. Chen Silin has accompanied her all the way, not as sisters, but better than sisters. Besides Jiang Fan, the only one she couldn't let go of is her. Jiang Fan nodded slightly. Don't worry, I will take good care of her. Then Jiang Fan cupped his hands to Ayashura King. Senior, please take care of my wife. This junior, if accomplished in the future, will surely repay. Ayashura King looked Jiang Fan up and down and said, Your deep feelings and loyalty, yet I forcefully separate you, it's also a sin. Let me give you something as compensation. Stretch out your hand. Jiang Fan stretched out his hand in confusion. Ayashura King grasped Jiang Fan's palm. In an instant, a powerful unknown force surged into his body. In the Danshan, the black golden core expanded rapidly. First level of core formation, third level of core formation, fifth level of core formation. It finally stopped at the ninth level of core formation, feeling the dramatic change within his body. Jiang Fan was so startled that his heart pounded. He was lucky when Ayashura King withdrew her hand and said, You are capable of cultivating a second golden core, apparently. Reaching the ninth level of core formation is hard-earned, isn't it? Now, you have hope of charging towards the nascent soul realm with dual golden core. Of course. This is because the black core wasn't stable enough. During the tribulation, it would shatter because it wasn't condensed well enough. Thank you, Senior. Then Jiang Fan asked after a moment's thought. Senior, I am concerned that the soul of this person, stuck in the 10th layer, might be a threat to the young master and Yoren. Ayashura King's old eyes gently flashed. Thunder Dao Divine Power. What does an Asura clan member need Thunder Dao Divine Power for? After pondering for a moment, she asked, Do you know where he is right now? The underworld is about to close. She doesn't want to leave any unstable threats behind. Jiang Fan shook his head first. Ayashura King looked at Jiang Fan's chest. You have something of his on you. Show me. Jiang Fan was stunned for a moment, then remembered something. He took out a jade box from his bosom, inside which was a jet-black, nail-like pointed insect. Senior, is it this? Ayashura King took it and said, This is a blood insect from the bloodthirsty Shura tribe. With it, finding Zing is not difficult. She gently held the blood insect, closed her eyes, and sensed it. The next moment she abruptly opened her eyes, revealing a cold gleam. Dare to go there. Bold indeed. Wait here, I'll be right back. The 10th layer, most to the east. Tall stone tablets stood like a primeval forest, inscribed with vigorous hell language in black blood. Asura Heavenly King exterminates the border wilderness. Blood prison war god Nijiu. Infinite K-Siddhigarbha dark bodhisattva. In the cemetery, Zing's soul drifted past the stone tablets, showing a trace of sorrow. 1,000 years later, you're all dead. Only I still live, barely surviving in the central earth world. Who can tell me why it turned out this way? A struggle for the Hell Soul Bell, why did it ultimately become a cross-boundary war? In the end, startling the central earth ancient saint, leading them to subdue and kill you all, he murmured as he walked silently. When he arrived at the very center of the cemetery, in front of a massive tomb surrounded by stars and the moon, a 10-jang tall stone tablet bore ancient inscriptions. Asura Emperor Dongfang Kanyu. Gazing at the name before him, he could no longer hold back and fell to his knees with a thud. Tears streaming down his face, he said, Lord Dongfang, Zing has returned. I did not fail in my mission. I sent the Asura Saint's son out of the underworld. He is exceptional, possessing talents surpassing yours, becoming a great venerate of Central Earth. No one doubts his identity. The beings of Central Earth respect him, seeing him as the pride of Central Earth. Given time, he will surpass everything and become the new saint of Central Earth. Everything went as you planned. The only mistake is that we lost the prison-suppressing soul scripture. That ancient saint is too formidable. We hid countless people in the caves, and with a single thought from her, the entire underworld's beings fell into slumber. When I awoke, it was already hundreds of years later, and all my companions had decayed to nothing in their sleep. Only the Saint Heir and I survived. That Asura king who guarded the prison-suppressing soul scripture had also died. The scripture vanished without a trace. But rest assured, over the years, the Saint Heir has manipulated some pawns, continuously searching for the ancient scripture in the underworld. If it surfaces, it will surely return to the Saint Heir's hands. Quietly recounting his experiences over the years, Zing spoke. After a long while, he wiped away his tears, hesitated, and tried to reach out to touch the tombstone. At the moment his fingers touched it, a terrifying surge of yin qi burst from the tombstone, blasting him away. The anomaly of this tomb triggered a series of changes in the surrounding graves. Numerous yin qi surged skyward, erupting with a suffocating, sky-covering power. Dong, just at that moment. In front of the Asura Emperor's tombstone, a gray-robed figure appeared, Xianxia King, with a gentle tap of her toe. The frantic yin qi in the entire cemetery calmed down once more. She slowly turned and gazed indifferently at Zing. Speaking so nicely, yet in the end, don't you just want to absorb Dongfang Canyu's essence blood? Do you want to siphon the essence blood from the remains to break through as an Asura king? Zing's expression changed, and he respectfully said, Senior, I had no such intention. Xianxia King said softly, Then why are you searching for humans proficient in Thunderdao divine skills? Isn't it just to restrain the yin qi within the tombstone? Zing was startled and argued, Senior misunderstood. I plan to use it elsewhere. It was as if Xianxia King saw through him. She said softly, I was suspicious when I first saw you. It's been 1,000 years, where is there still a living Asura? So, it was Dongfang Canyu who sent his son to Central Earth, allowing him to become a great venerate presence. Surely, he must have used great divine skills combined with secret techniques to help you escape the ravages of time, right? Zing bowed his head without revealing any expression, saying, Senior, would you like to meet the Asura Saint's son? He would be delighted to know there's still a fellow kin like you alive. Xianxia King laughed. My old master and Dongfang Canyu fought over the Hell Soul Bell, tearing through the two realms to appear in Central Earth. His son, the one rumored to possess traces of dark divine blood, will treat me kindly. Moreover, would he not fear that I might reveal to the humans that he is a being of the Hell Realm? If he knew of my existence, surely he'd be eager to kill me. Zing was drenched in cold sweat. With a look of terror, he immediately said, Senior, I swear to the heavens I will never disclose your existence. Xianxia King slowly approached. Calmly, she said, Exposing me means nothing. In my twilight years, there's not much time left anyway. But if you expose the young master, I won't have the face to see the old master in the underworld. Upon hearing this, Zing dared not hesitate any longer. With a swoosh, he directly fled into the void, vanishing without a trace. Xianxia King gazed up at the distant sky, raised her hand, and gently grasped. Zing's soul fell out of the void and was frozen midair by an invisible force. Zing felt terrified. Spare me, Senior. For the sake of our shared hell realm, let me go. Killing me brings you no benefit, Xianxia King said softly. Benefit? Previously there was none. Now the young master has gained a playmate. Let's brew a pot of wine from your soul, to help her refine her soul power. With that, Zing's soul began to dissolve rapidly. Zing was both shocked and angry, roaring, Xianxia King, I am a consort dragon merit of the Saint Heir. If he learns of my death at your hands, he will never let you go. Xianxia King's eyes narrowed slightly. So you always knew who I am. Clearly, you harbored ill intentions. Thanks to Jiang Fan's reminder, or else if you had escaped, it would truly be a colossal problem. Let's serve some of your soul wine to him then, Jiang Fan. Again with Jiang Fan, Zing roared in hatred, Jiang Fan, you cursed wretch, beside the abyss. A Chu Jiang Fan sneezed, puzzled. Who is thinking of me? Liu Qingxian, it must be Yue Mingzhu. Jiang Fan chuckled awkwardly, maybe they're cursing me instead. Su Yoren said, they'd be thrilled if they knew I wasn't with you, wouldn't they? And the ones I don't know about would secretly rejoice too. Senior sister Xia, don't you think? Upon hearing the ones you don't know about, Xia Keoj felt guilty. Suddenly being called out, she became so nervous that she clutched her little hands and nodded repeatedly. Yes, absolutely. Her mind went blank for a moment. She even suspected Su Yoren was talking about her. Luckily, just then, Xianxia King returned with a jug of wine, breaking the tension between them. Xianxia King landed in front of Jiang Fan, saying, Thanks for the reminder. It really did eliminate quite a potential threat. Jiang Fan breathed a sigh of relief. If Zing, such a formidable soul, got a chance to possess and reincarnate, who knows how troublesome it would be. Thankfully, it was resolved. He felt a bit disappointed seeing her return without the soul. It would have been great if he could have had it. The life-changing jade disc was just waiting for a soul to complete it. Speaking of threats, he suddenly remembered there was still a significant threat on him. It was time to deal with it. "Senior, I have something rather restless on me. I earnestly request you to stand by, so if I can't handle it, you can suppress it." He was, of course, referring to the rebellious guy. This guy is a living descendant of a true spirit. The so-called true spirit refers to a great sage-level demon beast. Its descendants have been nurtured for so long, it's hard to say how dangerous they are. It's rare to encounter a relatively friendly divinity transformation, Senior. If he doesn't ask for help now, when will he? Xianxia King smiled gently. "No rush. Let's have some wine first. Your reminder helped me and the young master solve a big problem. I must treat you well." She raised the jug in her hand. A wave of pure soul power wafted out. Everyone's spirits were refreshed. Xian Land Fairy looked envious. "Soul wine from the Hell Realm?" Brewing souls into soul wine is a talent possessed by only a few strong beings in the Hell Realm. Drinking this wine can directly enhance soul power. Jiang Fan clicked his tongue in amazement. Indeed, beings from the Hell Realm had somewhat bloody methods. Among the human clan, they would definitely be considered heretical. However, the benefits are truly numerous. Directly enhancing soul power is indeed heaven-defying. If he had known he could drink this wine, Jiang Fan wouldn't have needed to seek out the jade paper heavenly book. "Thank you, Senior." Jiang Fan naturally didn't hold back. Xianxia King glanced at Xian Land Fairy. "Since your Jiang Fan's elders join us at the table. You can't drink too much soul wine at once. One jug is perfectly enough when shared." So they returned to the Forbidden Land and approached the mysterious Wu Gu altar. Jiang Fan couldn't help but express his doubt. "Senior, what exactly is this Wu Gu altar? Why do I see traces of battle on it?" Xianxia King replied casually, "The magic artifact of the old master. It can break the barriers between two worlds." "What?" Jiang Fan and the heavenly mechanism pavilion master were stunned. "Break the boundary between two realms. Doesn't that mean it can open up the Hell Realm, inviting Hell creatures? First, there were ancient giants. Then there are Hell Realm creatures. This." They felt a chill under their seats. Xianxia King laughed. "Only someone with the power of the Asura Emperor can activate it. What's there to fear?" Suddenly, her smile froze for a moment. "The Asura Saint Sun seems capable of activating it, right? Fortunately, he fears the ancient saints of the continent. He dares not enter the underworld himself." Thinking of this, she felt relieved and poured several cups of wine, saying, "How can there be drinks without snacks?" She waved her hand. There was a rumbling sound from outside the Forbidden Land. A floating vegetable garden flew over. Jiang Fan looked, his face turned green, and quickly started chatting with Su Yoren. Xianxia King chuckled. "This vegetable garden, I've tended it carefully. Though it contains a lot of yin qi, it also has considerable cultivation-enhancing abilities. If you consume it in moderation, the benefits outweigh the negatives." "Really?" The heavenly mechanism pavilion master and the others looked over curiously. At the nascent soul realm, the negative impact of yin qi on them is much reduced. Even if it accumulates within, they have ways to expel it. These vegetables are beneficial for them. They can eat plenty. Xianxia King brought the garden closer, smiling. "I grow a lot of types of vegetables. You can choose whatever you like. Once you are done eating, you can even take some away." Her smile suddenly froze. The heavenly mechanism pavilion master and the others looked at each other. The garden was empty. Where were the vegetables? "Who stole my vegetables?" Xianxia King was stunned. Jiang Fan immediately spoke out. "Exclude me first, because I can swear whoever ate them will have sores, a rotten tongue, and diarrhea." Knowing the inside story, Xia Caoj tried hard to keep a straight face. She was secretly laughing inside. The heavenly mechanism pavilion master quickly said, "It wasn't us three either. We've never been near the Forbidden Land." Su Yoren said, "Could it be that Zing my husband mentioned? He's so bad it must be him." Xianxia King nodded slightly. It could only be him. "That damned one. Forget it, use spirit fruit as snacks then." She switched to taking out a plate of fruit. Everyone eagerly drank the wine in their hands. Jiang Fan, after finishing a cup, felt the soul power he had just advanced to at the soul level soaring. After a few more cups, the increase in soul power was stronger than reading 2 pages of the jade paper heavenly book. Before long, it seemed to reach the peak of a one-orifice nascent soul. If he could drink another cup, breaking into the second stage nascent soul would be no problem. This wine, 3 cups are enough, as it's an external soul power requiring time to digest. Drinking too much might cause confusion of consciousness. Ayashura King put down her cup. Everyone else put down their cups, feeling they haven't had enough. They looked pleased, obviously having gained significant soul power. Especially Xia Caoj, whose eyes gleamed with undisguisable joy. It seemed her soul power may have broken through to the nascent soul level. All right, Jiang Fan, you said you had something restless on you? What is it? Let me see. Jiang Fan perked up. Senior, please wait a moment. I'll bring it out immediately. With that said, he willed himself to be in front of the giant eggshell of the rebellious guy. Rebellious guy is the true spirit blood ready. The rebellious guy still looked fawning. Big brother, you're finally here. I've prepared it for you a long time ago. Jiang Fan nodded, bring it. But the rebellious guy said, Big brother, I have an impolite request. Could I go outside? I haven't seen the sunlight for so long. Please, big brother, he begged, but inside he was sneering repeatedly. Humph, 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 little vampire, your doomsday is here. I've gathered enough power to break out of the shell. Prepare to tremble in fear. Fan smiled slightly, his smile warm and amicable. He really seemed like a kind big brother. You should have mentioned it earlier. How easy is it to get out? Close your eyes, I'll bring you out. His heart spirit first withdrew from the space storage device. He took a few steps back, maintaining enough space between himself and the others, with a thought. A large gray egg, resembling a massive rock, appeared out of thin air among the crowd. The rebellious guy sensed he was truly released. His heart blossomed with joy. I'm out. I've finally come out. Little vampire, I'm here to settle scores with you, he thought to himself. The accumulated power fiercely smashed against the eggshell, crack. Amidst the intense cracking sound, this giant egg, existing for at least 1,000 years, finally split in half. A white, fresh mist emerged from the broken eggshell. In the mist, a plump little black shadow, roughly the size of a little killin, stood upright. Its arms crossed in front of its chest, legs slightly apart. A stance of invincible dominance. Looking up, it laughed heartily. I'm finally out. Ha ha ha. 1,000 years, Auhan has finally emerged. I want the sky to no longer look down on me. I want no voice to defy me in this world. I want those who hurt me to live in remorse, it laughed, pointing at the sky. Finally, its finger landed on Jiang Fan. And you, Jiang Fan, little vampire, you will be the first to live in remorse. As the white mist dissipated, this descendant of the peerless great sage revealed its true form. It turned out to be a baby just 1.5 feet tall, with green scales on its body, 2 small dragon horns on its head, 2 golden whiskers hanging on its lips. The reason it's called a baby, it's because it was completely naked. Its upper body and 2 short legs bare, only a cloth diaper wrapped around its butt. A chubby round face, seriously tense. A small dragon claw pointing at Jiang Fan. Green eyes fiercely glaring, appearing very fierce indeed. Dead vampire, do you know how I've been living these days? Do you know how much I've suffered? Do you know how many times I've torn you apart in my heart? Do you know all this? Jiang Fan shook his head. I don't know, I know nothing at all. The rebellious guy snorted. Then do you know where you went wrong? Your mistake was in bothering me. A powerful aura spread from its body. It had reached the aura of a one-orifice demon emperor. Do you know what this is? Demon Emperor realm, a realm that can poke 81 holes in your body with 1 finger. Just ask if you're afraid. Jiang Fan shook his head. Not afraid. Someone is protecting me. The rebellious guy laughed. Protect you? Who can protect someone in front of Auhan? Even the heavenly king won't do. Jiang Fan rubbed his brow. Rebellious guy? Why don't you take a look around first before you speak? Are there others around? Even with others, I'm not afraid. Humph, it looked around, only to find many people approaching, seeming ready to fiercely watch. The rebellious guy still arrogantly crossed its hands over its chest, its small frame displaying an aura of defiance. I, Auhan, don't kill nameless individuals. Report your names one by one. Heavenly Mechanism, Pavilion Master, One Orifice Nascent Soul, Yun Tianju. Oh, there's a human clan nascent soul present. The rebellious guy's high-held head lowered just a bit. A one-orifice nascent soul, it's nothing much. Kayan Land Fairy observed it. Fire Worship Sect, 2nd Stage Nascent Soul. The rebellious guy shivered, its hands automatically dropping from its chest. Is 2nd Stage that impressive? The man next to you, yes, you don't look around, report your name. Yun Hue pointed to himself. Me, Fire Worship Sect, 2nd Stage Nascent Soul, what do you want? The rebellious guy's pupils trembled, its small frame started to shake. Another 2nd Stage Nascent Soul. Since when did little vampire have so many nascent souls around? It gulped saliva, saying, I wasn't talking to you. I meant the old lady next to you. Yes, you, the one in gray clothes. I've always liked you, constantly smiling. Why are you laughing? If you have the guts, report your name, let's duel. Xianxia King chuckled hoarsely. I am Xianxia King, Divinity Transformation Realm. Divinity? Transformation. The rebellious guy was so scared its eyes widened, stumbling and fell to the ground. Its little face pale, sweat dripping from its forehead, its brain buzzed. What's happening? Someone tell me what's happening. Why did a divinity transformation suddenly appear? Who am I? Where am I? What's going on? It looked at the cracked eggshell, shivering as it crawled back inside. The outside is too dangerous. I want to return to the eggshell. Having crawled just a couple of steps, its path was blocked. It was none other than the little vampire with a smirk-like smile. So that's how you look, huh? Jiang Fan pinched its chubby face. You brat, what did you call me just now? The rebellious guy switched from its earlier supreme demeanor, its eyes now watery and pitiful. Of course I called you Big Brother. Jiang Fan, half smiling, patted its back of the head. Tell me again, what kind of days were you living these days? The rebellious guy hugged Jiang Fan's palm, rubbing it with its little face. Drinking water source essence every day, sleep when full, eat when well-rested, Big Brother cares for me, loves me, I live a happy life every day. Hee. Jiang Fan pinched its little nose, laughing in annoyance. You asked if I knew my mistake. You tell me, where did I go wrong? The rebellious guy, pinched and pained, pitifully replied in a childish voice. How could Big Brother be wrong? The wrong one is obviously me. This little rascal. Changing faces faster than turning pages. I assure us, Senior, let's continue drinking with more wine. Roast this true spirit descendant as our snack. The rebellious guy was scared out of his wits, quickly hugging Jiang Fan's arm. Big Brother, I'm wrong, I truly know my mistake. Spare me, I'll give you true spirit blood, give you a magical treasure. Please don't eat me. While begging, tears were falling. Jiang Fan didn't believe him. This rebellious guy is very shrewd, completely untrustworthy. However, eating it was naturally just to scare it. No matter what, the true spirit blood and a few magical treasures given by rebellious guy were of great help to him. The kindness could not be ignored. I assure us, Senior, how should this true spirit descendant be handled? Do you have any good suggestions, Senior? He hesitated to kill, yet controlling it was difficult. Just a small chance and the rebellious guy would probably bite him. Xianxia King surveyed the rebellious guy with interest. The aged hand brushed over him, eyes showing some surprise. Such pure true spirit body, inheriting at least 40% of its mother's essence. More than our young master inherited from his mother. Absolutely capable of growing into a great sage-level existence. After pondering for a moment, she mused, Jiang Fan, would you dare to raise a true spirit pet? Fan was taken aback, pointing at the rebellious guy. He said, you want me to raise it? This guy, even inside the eggshell, was thinking about how to get me all day long. Bringing it along, isn't that asking for trouble? I have no doubt, if one day I fall into a pit while walking, not only will it not pull me out, but it will also find a lid to cover the pit. The Xianxia King laughed and said, I naturally have a way to make it obedient to you. In the old master's legacy, there is a set specifically for enslaving. The great sage of the human clan, the true spirit of the demon race, the emperor of the hell realm, all can be enslaved. Even true spirits can be enslaved. It must be said, the methods of the hell realm are truly domineering and wicked. Jiang Fan certainly wouldn't refuse. He nodded repeatedly and said, since it can be completely enslaved, what do I have to fear? Xianxia King said, aren't you afraid its kind will come looking for trouble with you? Jiang Fan glanced at the rebellious guy and said, if it had kind, it wouldn't have been trapped under the 9-dynasty ancient capital for thousands of years. Something that could grow into a true spirit, Jiang Fan really had no reason to refuse. Okay, I will help you enslave it, but your wife needs to learn the method of enslavement from the old master's legacy first. If you're not assured bringing this true spirit descendant around, you can let it stay here. It won't stir up any trouble. In other words, not now. It needs some time. Jiang Fan naturally had no objections. He cupped his hands and said, then I must trouble you, Senior, and it will also be a hard task for Yoren. Su Yoren was already interested in the legacy of the Asura Emperor. Hearing that it could help Jiang Fan even more made her enthusiastic. Rest assured, husband, I will do my best to help you enslave this little true spirit. The rebellious guy, upon hearing this, immediately had tears welling up in his eyes. Gone forever, all gone forever. If I had known it would be like this, I would have stayed in the eggshell. Jiang Fan smiled and patted its head. Weren't you calling me Big Brother just now? Don't worry, soon you'll be calling me Big Brother forever. While the rebellious guy couldn't hold it any longer and started wailing. Xianxia smiled, took its little finger, cut it open, and squeezed out the last bit of needed true spirit blood. All right, this time we just need your true spirit blood. I won't need the magical treasure. The rebellious guy's mood lifted slightly, and its crying subsided. Who knew? Xianxia added another sentence. In any case, both you and the magical treasure will be mine in the future. While the rebellious guy cried even louder. Having resolved the hidden danger, Xianxia felt light and unburdened. Yoren, practice well. He held Su Yoren's hand, giving a final farewell. Su Yoren's crystal eyes were brimming with tears. She said, "Husband, take care of everything." The two waved goodbye with reluctance. Half a day later, they returned to the front of the transmission array. The heavenly mechanism pavilion master felt a great sense of relief. He stood on the array, looking back at the 10th layer. There was a hint of melancholy. This is the place where countless ancestors fought. The next time he comes, he does not know when that will be. Perhaps in this life he may never come again. Respected spirits of our predecessors, one day the Tianju will return here. He bowed deeply and activated the array. Xianxia looked towards the direction of the forbidden land, his eyes full of blessings. Master, Sister Hua Zin asked me to ask you, are we going to that space with the space magic treasure and puppet or not? If we leave now, we won't have the chance later. Xianxia thought for a bit, then slightly shook his head. Forget it. Let's leave something to look forward to in the future. Besides, Wu Manyu is such a clever person, she must know that it will be difficult to easily set foot on the 9th and 10th layers in the future. Even if there are treasures inside, she would have almost cleaned them out. Hua Zin received the feedback from the little Qilin and pouted. In a voice only she could hear, she muttered, "What a pity. I originally wanted to use you to retrieve the other half of the tiger talisman inside." The tiger talisman has always been a pair. Only when the two are combined can they command thousands of troops. Even hell creatures, upon seeing the complete tiger talisman, must obey orders and dare not disobey, including those on the 11th layer, ground level. The Vice Pavilion master, managers, and disciples, still shaken, gathered around. Many were injured. Others had perished from touching the black crystal. This exploration resulted in a substantial number of casualties. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion master saw this, further solidifying his determination. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion must change. With everyone assembled, the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion master announced, "I have 2 messages to deliver to everyone. One message is that from today, the underworld will be permanently closed. The mission of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion to explore the underworld has come to an end." Upon hearing this, the crowd was in an uproar. Several disciples who usually went unnoticed quietly moved to a discreet spot and secretly passed information to the outside world. The other message is that we will relocate our entire sect to Taikang State. Those willing to follow me and start anew, stay behind. For those unwilling, I will take a share of resources from the treasury and bestow you generously. Decide whether to stay or leave before sunset. The unexpected announcement was a tremendous shock to everyone in the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Most did not even understand what it implied. Only a small number understood. The old Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion disbanded. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion master suppressed his emotions and said, "Additionally, the merits from this exploration are still valid. Everyone can exchange their merits for what they need in the treasury." After stating this, he went ahead with Cayenne Land Ferry and Yun Huo. Xianxia did not dare delay. Immediately, he headed to the treasury, where the same manager as last time was guarding it. Seeing Xianxia, he smiled slightly. "It's you again, huh? What do you wish to exchange for this time?" Xianxia took out the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion disciple's token and handed it to him, saying, "I still don't know how much merit I have. Could I trouble the manager to check it for me first?" The 9th layer, he had explored 3 caves, and plus the 10,000 merits for tracking the hell beasts. It should amount to nearly 20,000 merits. Entering the 10th layer and walking through so many unexplored areas should account for even more merits. The manager chuckled wryly. "How many hidden spaces did you discover? You don't even have a rough idea of your merits?" Soon enough. After a short while, a string of numbers emerged. It started with 1, followed by many more. The manager sighed, picked up the disciple token again, placed it back, and it was the same. "This is strange. Is there something wrong with the detecting magic artifact?" the manager said, bewildered. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master, after discussing some matters, finally arrived. "Pavilion Master, this crystal is broken." The heavenly mechanism pavilion master laughed, albeit bitterly. The crystal isn't broken. It's that Jiang Fan has broken the merit scale of the heavenly mechanism pavilion. Let him choose whatever he wants from the treasury, even if he empties it. Jiang Fan didn't delay. He swiftly moved to the treasury. Once again, it was the same manager guarding it. He looked at Jiang Fan, smiled wryly, and said, "It's you again." He exaggerated. "Discovered quite a few hidden spaces, didn't you?" He took the token from Jiang Fan and placed it onto the detector. A long string of numbers began to appear. The first was a 1, and after that appeared many, many more digits. They completely covered the detection magic artifact's surface. The manager was both astonished and amused. "What on earth did you do, Jiang Fan?" The heavenly mechanism pavilion master, appearing gift-trapped after discussing certain matters with Jiang Fan earlier, laughed. "It's not broken. Pavilion, those with higher merit rankings have priority in selection. She wanted to snatch the true spirit blood, so she could only resort to this method and placate Jiang Fan." Jiang Fan blinked. The insights of the Cayenne Land true fire technique? What would a disciple want that for? The disciple can cultivate on his own. Cayenne Land Fairy's mouth twitched. "Little rascal, showing off your talent, are you?" She maintained a fox-like fake smile and said, "You've only understood the entry-level stage. To cultivate deeply, you'll still need my insights." Jiang Fan said, "No need. I've already cultivated to small success, look." He pressed his palms together, and when he opened them again, there was a small blood-red lotus, identical to the one exhibited by Luo Yingshuang. Even the heavenly mechanism pavilion master raised his eyebrows. "You've already refined that Asura karmic fire so quickly." Yun Hu clicked his tongue. This is the fire control of small success, isn't it? In just a few days." Cayenne Land Fairy's almond-shaped eyes widened, her face showing an expression as if she had seen a ghost, stammering. You've actually cultivated to small success. It took me several years." Jiang Fan scratched his head and said, "I don't know how it happened either. Just casually cultivating, and it worked." "Senior Cayenne Land, you're not going to take a moment to calm down, are you?" Cayenne Land Fairy's state of mind was already crumbling. Hearing this, she immediately understood that Jiang Fan was deliberately provoking her and angrily said, "You little thing. Is cultivating to small success such a big deal? Do you dare to compare flames with me, see whose flame is more might?" Suddenly, the lotus in Jiang Fan's palm flared up suddenly, expanding tenfold in size. The power it radiated seemed even more formidable than Cayenne Land Fairy's. This was due to absorbing the Asura karmic fire of the wild boar. Cayenne Land Fairy didn't have a group of dog buddies helping her find any Asura karmic fire. The red flames reflected on Cayenne Land Fairy's stunned face, turning a shade of red. After a good while, she finally snapped back to her senses, biting her red lips with trembling rage. "This is the Cayenne Land true fire technique I risked my life for, and you actually cultivated better than me. Tianzhu, you handle him, you better handle him. He's doing it on purpose to piss me off." The heavenly mechanism pavilion master scratched his nose. This was quite disheartening. Jiang Fan, go and pick. Don't anger your senior Cayenne Land any longer." Jiang Fan cupped his hands and said, "Yes, pavilion master. Senior Cayenne Land, farewell," he said with a half-smile and quickly ran off. There was no need to guess. He already knew Cayenne Land Fairy was trying to scheme for priority exchange rights, certainly for the highest valued true spirit blood. Cayenne Land Fairy, already fuming, exploded upon hearing this. "Yun Tianzhu, look at your disciple, he's doing it on purpose. You better discipline him." The heavenly mechanism pavilion master chuckled awkwardly. "How am I supposed to discipline him? He hasn't done anything wrong." Cayenne Land Fairy was practically driven mad by Jiang Fan. "If you won't, then I will." Yun Hu coughed dryly and said, "Junior sister, calm down. He is a disciple of the heavenly mechanism pavilion. He's not under your jurisdiction. Maybe if you become the pavilion master's wife someday, you might have some say over him." Cayenne Land Fairy glared at him, then looked at Jiang Fan's retreating figure in the treasure vault with eyes blazing with fire. "You little rascal, one day I'll be able to handle you." In the treasure vault, Jiang Fan first exchanged for that bottle of true spirit blood, and then exchanged for all the nascent soul one-strike jade tokens and talisman arrows. 3 talisman arrows, 10 nascent soul one-strike jade tokens. He didn't take anything else. Whether it's for the departing disciples' disperse resources or for rebuilding the sect in Taikang State, massive resources are needed. Picking only what he needed would suffice. Next, he went to the team's treasure vault. Last time he only exchanged 2 bright light brocade robes. This time he exchanged all the remaining 5 in one go. After finishing these, he left the treasure vault. When he came out, Xianxia Fairy was standing there with her arms crossed, wearing a frosty expression, her small feet stamping on the ground, looking very angry. Jiang Fan smiled. He took out the true spirit blood, leaving half of it. From his experience with cultivating the divine image, half a bottle of true spirit blood was enough for 10 sessions. More than sufficient. The remaining half he tossed to Xianxia Fairy. Her face lit up with joy, just about to catch it, but Jiang Fan changed direction, throwing it to Yun Huo. Though he still gave it to them, it undoubtedly made Xianxia Fairy's anger spike even higher. You little thing, all right, you're doing this on purpose to rile me up, huh? Once we're in Taikang state, we'll see how I deal with you. I don't believe I can't manage you, she ground her teeth hard. Yun Huo held the true spirit blood excitedly. This was enough for both him and his junior sister to use. Then he showed a look of guilt. Jiang Fan, not only did you save us, but thanks to you we've tasted soul wine. And now you're giving us half a bottle of true spirit blood. Is there anything you need that we can do for you? Jiang Fan's eyes lit up, and without hesitation he said, could the 2 seniors stay on the continent for a few more days? In a few days, there's an occasion where your presence is needed to hold the ground. With 2 second-stage nascent soul experts around, even if the Sky Demon Emperor had the courage, he wouldn't dare interfere with concubine Yanksia and see Charm's tribulation. Besides, if things turned dangerous, they could save the 2 women. Upon hearing this, Yun Huo and Xianxia Fairy exchanged a glance, their eyes showing some reluctance. Jiang Fan, it's not that I'm unwilling. I'm afraid it's difficult for us to linger a few more days. Xianxia Fairy spoke up. Though she was annoyed with Jiang Fan, she was still very grateful to him and explained. The appearance of the connecting sky-black pillar has caused a heavenly ascending ancient road to materialize over Taikang state. Some have seen wondrous sights at the end of the ancient road, comparable to legends. We too are leaving at this crucial moment because all the major divine sects are preparing for it. I'm afraid we really can't stay any longer. Jiang Fan, I'm not targeting you, but I'm afraid we really can't stay any longer. After hearing this, Jiang Fan nodded his head in understanding and said, I won't trouble you too with this then. Let me request one other thing instead. He took out the pale infinite ring. It had been drained of its last bit of energy since last used, turning white again. Only the nascent soul power of humans could recharge it, and he trusted the 2 seniors with this. Jiang Fan said coughingly, better not say anything. I'd hate to see you lose sleep over this again. I really be so lacking in self-control. Jiang Fan said, all right, I found it back when I was in the Foundation Establishment realm at the bottom of a cliff. Ah, acquired during the Foundation Establishment realm, and it was found. The cliché story of discovering a peerless treasure after falling off a cliff actually happening to someone close is harder to bear than being killed. Xianxia Fairy clenched her fist and pounded against her chest to alleviate the discomfort. You lucky little thing, she gritted her teeth and said, hand it over. I'll fill it up for you. Jiang Fan handed the ring to her, and she immediately channeled the vigorous power of her second-stage nascent soul. The pale ring visibly turned green quickly. Soon it transformed into a deep green, much greener than when it was first obtained. At this moment, Xianxia Fairy released her hand, her face slightly pale, looking as if she'd overexerted her nascent soul power. Let me do it. Yun Huo took over and continued to infuse power. The deep green color eventually turned to dark green and then stopped. But this wasn't the ring's limit. It's that Yun Huo's nascent soul power was also exhausted. Xianxia Fairy, her lips pale, looked astonished and asked, how much energy can this ring actually absorb? Why do I feel like what we infused is less than 1/10 of its capacity? Jiang Fan was also quite surprised. But on second thought, this item was considered a life-bound magical treasure by a pair of late-stage nascent soul partners. It's not something the power of 2 second-stage nascent souls could fill. Nonetheless, having this much energy is already quite satisfying. Thank you, both seniors. Xianxia Fairy gave Jiang Fan a slight side-eye and took something from her bosom to toss at him. Thank me one less time for annoying me. Senior brother, let's go. Yun Huo cupped his hands to the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master and said, I look forward to the relocation of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion to Taikang State. Farewell. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master watched them depart. Jiang Fan, meanwhile, caught the item Xianxia Fairy tossed over and looked at it in his hand. It was a jade pendant engraved with her name. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master smiled slightly and said, "With this jade pendant, when you reach Taking State, you can go find her in the Fire Worship sect. It seems my senior sister is quite fond of you. She doesn't usually like to bother with people's troubles." Jiang Fan, realizing it was something beneficial, quickly put it away and laughed. "It's not for nothing that I called out Pavilion Master's wife." The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master paused and with feigned annoyance said, "Are you teasing me too?" After a brief moment, he asked, "Just now, you asked my senior brother and senior sister to stay to keep order. Have you encountered trouble?" Jiang Fan thought for a moment. He sincerely cupped his hands in a bow with a hint of bitterness and said, "I've asked 2 people already, but neither could help. Today, I'm left with no choice but to ask you, Pavilion Master." It was the first time the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master saw Jiang Fan earnestly seeking help, so he replied seriously, "Tell me. I will treat your matter as my own." Jiang Fan spoke frankly. Concubine Yanksia and Sea Charm Demon King are about to undergo tribulations, aiming for the Demon Emperor realm. I would like to request the Pavilion Master to protect them. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master pondered deeply. He viewed Jiang Fan suspiciously. Protecting the demon race? Allowing them to gain 2 more Demon Emperors. Do I even need to explain the consequences? The Sky Demon Emperor is already ambitious and loves to wage war. If they gain 2 more Demon Emperors, that would be unbearable. They might launch an expedition south immediately. Give me a reason to protect them." He furrowed his brow and said, Jiang Fan was not someone who would make such an irrational request. With no way to conceal it any longer, Jiang Fan, slightly embarrassed, said, "I don't fear the Pavilion Master laughing at me. Concubine Yanksia is my woman." The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master's eyes widened, his mouth slightly agape. When he met Xianxia King in the underworld, he wasn't this shocked. At that moment, Jiang Fan's simple statement left his mind thundering. Concubine Yanksia, isn't she the most favored among the 36 concubines of the Demon Emperor? Known as Immortal Beauty. How did Jiang Fan manage to pluck that peach? "You." The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master staggered, deeply shocked. "You really have guts. Daring to mess with the Demon Emperor's woman and even succeeding." Jiang Fan awkwardly said, "The Demon Emperor brought it upon himself, failing to win Concubine Yanxia's heart. Later, he even forced Concubine Yanksia to kill me, plus." The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master waved his hand to stop him. "No need to say more. I don't want to hear your process." He took a deep breath, his eyes gradually lighting up. "Initially, I was worried that after the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion's relocation, the Sky Demon Emperor might covet the human clan's territory. Now, however, it's a once-and-for-all opportunity to eliminate a major threat. If one of the 2 can break through to the Demon Emperor, given the Sky Demon Emperor's actions over the years, I'm afraid the entire demon race would turn to the new Demon Emperor, and he would lose his dominion over the demon race. That being said, going or not, it was obvious. This was an enormous opportunity. Even if Jiang Fan didn't ask him, he would go. "When is it?" Jiang Fan calculated with his fingers and said, "In 2 days, it's time for the tribulation. On that day, it's also when the Demon Emperor forces a demon girl to marry him." The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master rubbed his hands together and laughed. Previously, the Demon Emperor waged war and caused heavy casualties to my human clan. Courtesy calls for reciprocity. On his wedding day, how can I not send a congratulatory gift? Prepare well. In 2 days, let's sit in at the Demon Emperor court." Jiang Fan felt relieved. He alone was reluctant to face the Demon Emperor. It was very likely he wouldn't be able to protect the 2 women and would be deeply entangled himself. Now, with the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master assisting, his confidence soared. However, he himself also needed to quickly enhance his strength. By that time, there was bound to be a fierce battle. After bidding the Pavilion Master goodbye, Jiang Fan planned to find a place to go into seclusion for a day. After this trip to the underworld, his cultivation at the 9th layer of core formation was stabilized. Next, he could aim for 9th layer of core formation perfection, and he had already prepared the resources needed. 1,000-year-old clam meat. He had always been reluctant to use it, feeling it was a waste to use during the early stage of core formation. But between the 9th layer and perfection, it was the hardest stage to cross. Otherwise, the 9 sect and Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion wouldn't have so many at the 9th layer of core formation, but perfection was few. The clam meat was most suitable now. Just as he was about to head to the cultivation hall, He discovered Wu Manyu squatting in the square selling things. Many disciples like her were there. With the impending dissolution of the heavenly mechanism pavilion, many disciples were seeking new paths. Selling their things to exchange for what they needed was only natural. Jiang Fan walked up to Wu Manyu and found on her stall even some scraped-off wall dust. This woman, how thoroughly had she scoured that secret space? Even brought the wall dust. "Everyone's selling things and you're selling junk?" said Jiang Fan with a tone of irritation. Wu Manyu looked up to find it was Jiang Fan with a deep resentment. She said sardonically, "Yes. What choice do I have? Went on a mission with someone, used up all my treasures, but the merit all went to the other person. Without selling junk, I'd be living on the northwest wind." Jiang Fan chuckled awkwardly. Last time, everyone had suffered heavy losses, but Jiang Fan got 10,000 merit as compensation, which made up for it. "Cough, cough, sell me some treasures, I'll help your business. There are still 3 dragon heart blood lotus seeds left, take them." Wu Manyu's eyes lit up, and she instantly warmed up. "Oh, it's still junior brother Jiang who cares for me." She immediately took out some worthless things and laid them in front of Jiang Fan. "All top-level treasures, take your pick." Jiang Fan's forehead veins bulged, exploiting acquaintances. He casually glanced, and they were all junk, including a worm-eaten ragged painting. How could she have the nerve to bring this out? Who knew? The ghost soul crystal in his arms suddenly trembled in voice. "This woman is quite bold. Dare to take out that painting. It depicts the ruthless ancient saint who once suppressed the hell creatures invading Central Earth's underworld." Fan's expression changed. Ancient saint of the continent. He quickly grabbed the tattered painting and unfurled it. He was too curious about what that ancient saint looked like. But at first glance, Jiang Fan was greatly disappointed. The face section of the painting was inexplicably blurry, as if it had been soaked in water after being painted. He could only barely discern where the features were, but couldn't see them clearly at all. Even the outline of the cheeks was unclear. "Even a ghost wouldn't make out this, right?" Jiang Fan muttered. No sooner had he spoken, Hua Zin was startled. "Hey, you courting death? How dare you criticize the portrait of an ancient saint? Please don't drag me into this." Jiang Fan's heart tightened. He immediately remembered when he had once just muttered a sentence in support of the great sun demon emperor. Within days, he was almost struck by lightning while walking on the road. He hurriedly clasped his hands together and prayed to the heavens. "Words of a child, great luck." Not sensing anything unusual, he turned his gaze back to the painting. Though the face was blurred, the other parts remained. It depicted a woman in a light green dress, exuding an ethereal aura. She was tall yet delicate, with the gentle grace of a willow by the river, softly swayed by the breeze. She stood straight, her hands gently folded in front of her lower abdomen, her demeanor composed and serene. There was no way to connect this with the ruthless person Hua Zin spoke of. "I don't know why, but there's always a feeling of déjà vu." Jiang Fan studied the scroll, pondering with his hand under his chin. "It's like I've seen someone like this before, but I just can't remember who." "You." Hua Zin pouted. "What are you thinking? Could you have met an ancient saint? All 9 ancient saints of Central Earth are enigmatic figures, never revealing their holiness to people." Jiang Fan was skeptical. "So where does my sense of familiarity come from?" Hua Zin said. "The ancient saints represent the faces of all beings. It's normal for you to feel familiar." "Is that so?" Jiang Fan nodded. Continuing to examine, he suddenly noticed something, and holding the scroll, looked closely. He was surprised to find, in the furthest corner of the scroll, a colorful rooster pecking at bugs on the ground. Jiang Fan touched the feather on his chest, his expression a bit dazed. He thought of the tomb of the Earth Phoenix Great Sage at the base of the Spirit Beast Sect's mountain, a wooden sign casually inscribed with Xiao Feng's tomb. Could it be the rooster in the painting was the Earth Phoenix Great Sage back then, and the one who erected the monument was the ancient saint? Was it possible that the reason the ancient saint remembered him and struck him with lightning was because he had dug up the Earth Phoenix Great Sage's tomb? Heaven bless. The tomb was dug by the Divine Movement sect. He merely made use of what was wasted, finding a chicken feather of the Earth Phoenix Great Sage from the pile of dirt. Just as the thought arose, the feather on Jiang Fan's chest suddenly became scorching hot. Fortunately, with his now advanced cultivation, it no longer pained him. All right, I didn't say you're useless," Jiang Fan said helplessly, but judging by the feather's reaction, there's no doubt it's the one in the painting. "A chicken-raising ancient saint? From now on, I'll pay extra attention to women who raise chickens." With the scroll stowed away, Jiang Fan casually tossed the painting back, saying, The painting is old at a glance, but it's not worth a bun. I suggest you keep it yourself. Wu Manyu rolled her eyes, reluctantly pulled out a broken spirit stone the size of a fingernail from her bosom. It was brimming with rich spiritual energy. It was a crystal stone, but not an ordinary crystal stone. Top-grade crystal stone fragment in exchange for 3 dragon heart blood lotus seeds. Top-grade crystal stone. Jiang Fan showed curiosity. This is the first time I've seen one. Wu Manyu sneered. Isn't it? Top-grade crystal stones are highly sought after in Taikang State, with prices but no market. I heard Vice Building owner Gu of Jiangshan First-Class Building spent a fortune to buy top-grade crystal stones from our Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master. Although this is just a small piece, someone will definitely scramble for it. Oh, are top-grade crystal stones that popular? He suddenly remembered how he had tens of thousands of crystal tokens, yet to be exchanged for crystal stones at the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Could these low-grade crystal stones be condensed into top-grade ones through Mountain River Tripod? Hey, do you want it or not? If not, I'll sell it to someone else. Yes. Jiang Fan handed her 3 dragon heart blood lotus seeds. Wu Manyu giggled and immediately hid the dragon heart blood lotus seeds deep in her bosom. After confirming that the rest were all discarded items, Jiang Fan got up to take his leave. Just before leaving, something came to mind. By the way, are you staying or leaving? Looking at Wu Manyu's clearance stall, Jiang Fan roughly guessed her intent. The underworld can no longer be accessed, making the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion worthless to her. With her profit-driven nature, she likely wouldn't start over with the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion in Taikang State. Why, can't bear to leave me? Then beg me. If you beg me, I'll stay. Wu Manyu cast a charming look, giggling. Jiang Fan returned a roll of the eyes and turned to leave. Watching his silhouette fade into the distance, Wu Manyu's smile gradually disappeared and her crystal eyes dimmed. She sighed softly in disappointment. There's no feast that lasts forever, is there? See you again if fate allows. Jiang Fan. Not long after, her stall was still there, but she was nowhere in sight. Jiang Fan had arrived at the cultivation hall. He chose a cave dwelling and took out the 1,000-year-old clam meat, beginning to strive for 9th layer of core formation perfection. Little did he know. Chen Silin, in her Inquash-style long dress, was also quietly following, arriving at the entrance of his secret chamber. Her appearance was still as exquisite and pretty as ever, but her aura had changed from its former fresh liveliness, displaying a bit of noble aloofness. Even more astonishing was, her eyes, once normal brown, had turned a pale moonlight color, like 2 small moons. In her mind, Chen Silin's anxious voice resonated. Moon Venerate, what are you planning to do? You're not allowed to hurt him. It turned out that Moon Venerate had overtaken her will. As Chen Silin's cultivation kept progressing, Moon Venerate was nourished too, her soul growing stronger. She finally managed to suppress Chen Silin's soul and temporarily control the body. Relax, he's always taken good care of you, why would I harm him? It's just that he took my moon realm. I need to take it back. Even if it's just a small piece, someone would definitely fight over it. It was only then Chen Silin breathed a sigh of relief, though her heart was rather heavy. It turned out that Moon Venerate had taken over her will. Ever since the connecting sky-black pillar appeared, Moon Venerate had been urging her, pushing her to leave and return to her former moon palace. She just couldn't bear to leave and didn't dare to tell Su Yoren and Jiang Fan. Until now. The worry that she might not be able to reclaim the moon realm from Jiang Fan. If he sees through you and rips you from my body, maybe it'll be too late. My husband is very powerful. Moon Venerate smiled faintly, brushing a finger across her eyes. Don't worry, unless he reaches the nascent soul realm. He won't notice anything unusual about me.